T2. Okay, good start. Here we go. Perfect. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Let me know if you can't hear me. Right, I'll call to begin our Commercial Services Committee meeting for this evening. As per the first item on the agenda, though, I will ask if there are any nominations for chair of the committee going forward this year. Yeah, Councillor Bevan.
I would like to nominate Mr. Sam Foster.
Thank you. Seconded. Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other nominations? No. All those in favour? Yeah. Perfect. Any abstentions? Perfect. As I said, I'd prefer an abstention. Great. In that case, then, we will go with that. Lovely. Well, I will sit back down then as chair. So thank you all very much. Great. We'll move on then. We need a vice chair for the year ahead. Ask for any nominations for vice chair. Councillor Bevan.
I nominate Councillor Brown.
Okay. Anyone that's... Yep, seconded by Councillor Corbyn. Any other nominations? All in favour? Any abstentions? Yeah, I've got to ask, Sven. Perfect. I think that was everyone. There we go. Lovely. Right. Well, with that done for another year, let's move on then. So to item 2, then, asking any apologies received.
None received.
None received. Okay. And any public questions or statements?
Yes, Chair. I have a question in 3 parts. So bear with me, from Mr. Peter Dunbar, who is here this evening. So I shall read out question 1, which has about 3 parts. So bear with me as I answer those 3 parts. When will the council allocate funds from their approved budgets for Salisbury 800 promotion and events? That's part 1. Together with allocating other funds, e.g. John Glenn's £60,000 to be received by them in support of Salisbury 800 as managed by the Board of Management headed by Susie Mason. That's part 2. And the third part of the first question is, have Wiltshire Council been approached to seek a financial grant or contribution? So these are all questions in relation to the council's Salisbury 800. So in terms of allocating funds from the council to approved budgets, I can confirm that those budgets have been allocated against those projects for some months, and that there will be a press release that comes out on the 24th of July that will set out in greater detail the projects which councillors will be aware of, that officers have been working on for some months and indeed years in some instances. Part B of that question was in relation to John Glenn's £60,000 and the work of the Place Partnership under Susie Mason. So my understanding is that currently funding from John Glenn MP is going into the Place Partnership Group managed by Susie Mason. I can't confirm the allocation of their funds to specific projects, I'm afraid. Part 3 of that is, have Wiltshire Council been approached to seek a financial grant or contribution? Councillors and Mr. Dunbar will be pleased to know that a letter is currently being drafted to go to the leader of Wiltshire Council, and we've had 2 separate briefing sessions with Councillor Sample on that issue. The second of the 3 questions is, will there be any revenue streams from Salisbury 800 events accruing to Salisbury City Council? The short answer to that is yes. Products such as merchandising or indeed any sponsorship opportunities will see funds come back into the coffers here at the City Council to offset the considerable expense that councillors have agreed. Part 3 and the final question in 2 parts. Salisbury will hopefully receive considerable public interest and visitors to Salisbury 800 events and its promotion. So will Salisbury City Council have both the central car park and marketplace public toilets fully refurbished and open for the 2027 celebrations of our City Charter anniversary. So if I take the second part of that first, which is in relation to marketplace toilets, councillors will receive a full briefing at full council on the 13th of July from our interim head of environment. But I can confirm that the marketplace toilets should be on track to deliver and be fully refurbished during 2027 and certainly celebrations of our charter anniversary. In terms of central car park toilets, we received an initial legal document from Wiltshire Council officers about 2 weeks ago. As you will recall, we have been having conversations with Wiltshire Council since September of last year. And 2 weeks ago was the first time that a document was received by this council in relation to any offers on central car park toilets. My pragmatic response, and in no way flippant response, is that given the timeline to get to this point so far, I think it would be incorrect of me to suggest that the central car park toilets would be in any way open anytime soon. This is the first document that we've received. We are having that checked by our legal teams, and we may need to go back and forth in terms of negotiation. And if it has taken this long to get this far, I worry about how long it will be before we reach a conclusion. Thank you, Chair. That answers the questions as submitted by Mr. Dunbar.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any other public questions? Nope. All right. In that case, then let's move on to item 4. Any questions or statements submitted by councillors?
None submitted.
Thank you. Okay, then moving on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Hopefully everyone saw those when they got circulated. Everybody happy that they are a correct record and happy to approve them? No? Yep. Perfect. I will sign those at the end of this meeting then. Any declarations of interest for this evening?
None received.
Perfect. Any dispensations given?
None requested or granted.
Thank you. Perfect. Chair's announcements. I will keep this short and sweet. Oh, yes.
I suppose a declaration of interest for me is that my brother does actually have his own stage business, but that does not form any part of this paper. But I just wanted it to be known.
Yep. We can note that. Thank you. Yes, so yeah, that'll be relevant for those looking at the agenda when we come to item 11, discussing the stage later. Lovely. In terms of my announcements, I say nothing particularly in terms of the announcements. Looking forward, just to say thank you to the whole team I see sat there to come and give us updates from their sections from within the commercial side of Salisbury Council. So no, thank you all very much. If I don't thank you again later. Otherwise, yeah, looking forward to getting team update. It's been a long time since our last meeting, so that'd be good. And again, thank you, Luke, for stepping in for Matt as well this evening. Great. In that case, then, having said thank you to them all, I will move on to item 9 then, and let's have the business team update. I'm going to jump in and say it. So just to let everyone know, we'll run these in sections. So each team member will come up and sort of present their section, and we'll do questions for those sections. So we'll ask those questions at those points. We won't just wait till the end. Perfect. Otherwise, then I'll hand over. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Luke. I'm the operations manager in charge of running the Guildhall, some banners and signs, and some of the marketplace business seating. I'm stepping in for Matt tonight, who I have on good authority is enjoying himself in the fjords of Norway right now. And before we get into it, I'd just like to get you all to record this muggy feeling you have should an aircon, Guildhall aircon proposal come your way in the near future. So we're beginning with a picture of growth in the commercial team, the business team. Not just growth in finances, but growth in the new services that we're beginning to offer, like a bar in the Guildhall, a new kiosk, the River Park, more sponsorship that we're getting in, mainly for our events, and generally just a maximising of the assets available to us. Next slide, please, Asa. we have a very pleasing graph here that shows growth in each of the key departments in the business team. I am going to kind of just rattle through these because the numbers speak for themselves, really. I'm not going to do a deep examination of it. But it should be noted that at this point, the CREM is not part of these slides, as when I think it ended the year as environmental, didn't it? And now it's in commercial services. Otherwise, it would be a nice bar on there of its own. Next slide, please. So when compared with the budgeted income, the previous graph was the total revenue. There are some variances all the way up to a positive 64,000 for the Guildhall and a negative 24,000 for the market. So this is the comparison of the expected income against the actual income. I'm going to let Dave explain some of the market when he gets up. The Guildhall, I can explain myself that we had a really good year. We did lots of bookings, not too much to it on top of that. The bar helped, the new bar, and I'll dig into that in a little bit. Next one, please. So I can speak to some of the successes on there for the Guildhall, because I'll let the rest of the guys discuss their own successes. We exceeded our budget again. It was a record year on top of another record year before. There was a strong demand throughout the year. We probably had a better Q1 than we normally have. That caused the variance throughout the year that might have been explained to you at some point. We run a kind of bottle tabletop bar throughout the year that has led to us choosing to implement a full bar that you will have seen in the foyer. In terms of opportunities, I feel like all of us in the business team are hunting down opportunities at every given occasion. 800 and the celebrations coming represent a really good opportunity. I think nearly all of the business team are in the 800 working group, so we get cracking on that. It wasn't without challenges, the biggest of which that shine out is probably the market variance for market stallholders, and probably the general feeling that we all have that costs are going up. So everything the business team tries to do in terms of new venture obviously comes with increased costs. I can certainly tell you, managing this venue, the costs are continually increasing on almost every asset that we need to bring in. Okay, next one, Lisa. So each member of the team is going to come up and present part of their sector. Are there any questions? Sorry, this one meant no. Carry on, Asa. Next one, actually. This was part of Matt's update. Matt and Lowell, the events manager behind me, have been working on the new concession leases. The River Park kiosk has opened on the newly terraformed River Park area on a 3-year lease. Looks lovely up there. All of it looks really good. And their work is continuing on the lease for Victoria Park and Churchill Gardens to get the tenants in there. Yeah, that will sum that up. Thank you. Going to welcome up Charlotte now from Communications, unless there are any further questions on the data we just ran through.
Yeah, Councillor Hocking.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Luke. As ever, £833,000 income sounds fantastic. If I said, can I see a profit and loss, please? Would we still be going, well, hey, we made lots of money? Or would we be going, oh gosh, it's cost us £1 million?
I think it's probably a good question for me running the Guildhall, because, like I say, year on year we're making record income, but when you put it on a budget monitoring report that factors in the cost of running this building, then we make a loss, I suppose would be the correct way to say it. It differs for different departments. So the market has got a negative variance, but it is profitable because its running costs are much lower. I think it really comes down to, I mean, that's a wide question. I think it comes down to how you slice the different sectors that we're looking at here. So in my little remit of running the Guildhall, I do not get to control the cost of the electric for these committees. They're not profit generating. I don't get to control the heating in the upstairs offices, but it is necessary to have that. And I think probably each of our departments has those areas that are not beyond our control, but they're accepted and maybe don't represent the true profit loss of the endeavour of the singular department.
I think it's always been my thing. Now we've got better accounting controls in place and a lot more insight into what money is going where. I think now we should be starting to drill down into some of these, and they can tell us whether, frankly, they're worth doing or not, you know, or what are the reasons for, I mean, I get the Guildhall slightly different because it's got offices and stuff in it. There's all sorts of, so there's an overhead related to all of that, which go, you know, which sit across each one of those. But I would be interested to know as each part of this business, those four, for instance, I would like to see a P&L so we know whether we're doing okay or where it's costing us a fortune or we're making loads. So if I could have that noted in the minutes, please.
Yeah.
If it's possible at the next meeting, we could see some detail into that. It would be much appreciated.
Perfect. I'll just
Thank
hand
you.
over to our CEO.
Thank you, Chair. We do provide, specific to this committee, details on how the teams are doing against budget. But Councillor Hocking, I appreciate this is the second meeting I've been in where you've specifically asked. Profit and loss isn't something that we use in terms of terminologies, but I'm really happy to sit down with you and take you through the income and the expenditure that we make across the entire council. Those reports are in existence, and I'm really happy to go through them with you.
We're not able to bring that sort of into the public forum then, is that?
It's
Because it sounds like the question I've asked is, yes, okay, Councillor Hocking, we could do that, but we need to do that privately.
No, it's not a special case, councillor. We report this regularly to full council. We report this to finance committee. What we also do is we bring budget reports here to this committee
Yeah.
for those areas that are pertinent to this committee.
Yes,
We now
do.
produce something like 26 finance reports for councillors to consider.
we do, but we could look at through each one of those financial reports and go to various different parts of the council to find out how many people you've got, what their banding is and all the rest of it. But I would like an easy to see the markets, overheads, utilities, staff, insurance, whatever, that tells us that it is profitable. And I'd like that on one piece of paper rather than to have to go through and hunt through various different.
I'm really happy to point you to the piece of paper that says
Okay,
that.
all right, thank you.
Perfect. I just, yeah, I think we'll go Corbyn and then we'll go to Councillor Rim. Just to finish on that, though, just a comment. I think as well, it's worth noting that the very last item on the agenda today, Sven, we're going to get an update on the dashboard so we can see and maybe put in requests there as well, because hopefully that will give us almost live updates of all the financial data. So we should make sure we have the comments. I don't know yet quite what the dashboard is going to look like, so I can't promise anything. But yeah, that may help as well, because yeah, I agree it's important. Perfect. Over to Councillor Corbyn.
My question's simple. We've got solar panels, haven't we? Because we put them in quite a while ago. How are they actually registered as for export? And are you actually making sure that that is profitable to actually help the Guildhall? Or did we not get that far? And also, if you haven't already, we should have a battery.
We don't have any energy storage, no, it's a direct converter. They were installed, they are connected, they do generate electricity, and we get a report from SSEN. They are quite old. The number is pretty disappointing that we get back from them. It would be a personal pursuit of mine in the future to see much more solar paneling on the roof. I think it would be really economically impactful after the capital investment, but at present the sum is a bit paltry.
Because that is something that you need to do, because we did it on our house, and actually it does make a big difference. But actually having the battery storage is what really does make it too. So maybe we need to invest a little bit more and actually put it on other buildings that we own, so that we actually make the money.
On that one, before we move forward, and then looking at my officers left and right, if we wanted as a committee then to ask maybe for an investigation into getting more solar panels and updated and batteries for the Guildhall in time to maybe go into the budget discussions for the year ahead, would now be a time to request that, and how?
Yes, you could make that resolution in this meeting, and we could go and investigate that. I am pleased to say that following last year's bids and savings, where there was administration and feedback from Blue Team, We've included solar panels with batteries as part of the new depot works that are going on. But absolutely, if that's a direction that this committee wants to take, then we'd be happy to look at that.
Okay, in that case, then can I put forward a motion to request Matt and Luke and other officers come back with a report, having looked into putting solar panels with modern battery storage options for the Guildhall, and report that back to the committee, please. Oh. Do we just ask? I thought we would put some authority behind it. Well, I've asked now. And,
Can I just add?
Yes, Ed.
Just add something to
Councillor
it,
Rimmer, sorry.
which is that can it be subject to a cost-benefit analysis specifically?
Yep.
Thank you.
So yeah, looking into what it would involve with the cost-benefit analysis, I'm going to put it forward as a motion. Councillor Corbyn, second. Let's have a vote. All in favour? Lovely. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise, over to Councillor Rimmer.
Thank you. Yeah, lots of these numbers look very encouraging. I agree with Sven that it would be useful to see them in that form, and I agree. I'm sure there are ways to find that, but it would be useful in this sort of graph to see exactly what costs have gone into producing that exact, income. And I agree with things like the Guildhall. That's always going to be tricky because, as lots of people have just said, the Guildhall is here, and we need it for things other than events, so that cost is absorbed in different areas. That would be useful. My question really is, so if you take the Guildhall as an example, that growth, to what extent do you think that growth is because we've been underperforming in the past and we're now getting to doing things properly and we're now sort of making the amounts of money we should be? And to what extent is that growth that we could expect to see at similar levels in future years? Or do you think that's a sort of one-off growth where we're getting to where we should be?
I think that would have been a fair question a few years ago. We were certainly underperforming then. I think for a couple of years now, we've exceeded the income target by quite a bit. And as a result of seeing the income target increase and have continued to surpass it again and again, I certainly think there is a plateau somewhere on the horizon. I would love to continually deliver year-on-year increase. There are other mechanisms we could use. I think this year in particular, really strong Q1, or the previous year, really strong Q1, a couple of marquee clients. Can we do everything to attract those clients? Yes. Can we guarantee we're actually going to get them? No. And you could see a deviation based on the sort of whale clients, if you like, coming in. But I don't think we've hit our plateau yet. I think we can continue to offer some growth. I say that with the danger of knowing I'm talking to the people who set the income target.
Of course, always good to under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah, I've done it backwards, haven't I?
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions at this stage? Otherwise, we'll move on. No, let's go to, I think it's sort of communications, social media then. Thank you.
Good evening. Okay, so as you can see, I'm comparing the stats of since the last Commercial Services Committee meeting this year versus last year. So starting with the social media, we outperformed 2025 on both Facebook and Instagram, which can largely be attributed to the Spudman visit back in March, which saw really great engagement on our socials. Top posts for this year include the Spudman visit, the announcement of Councillor Bolwell as mayor, the new duck feeder in Queen Elizabeth Gardens, photos from the dog show themed street sellers market, and the February half-term fun fair, which are all on the screen there. In line with the visit from Spudman as well, we also officially launched the SCC TikTok. Since this is his primary platform, we just thought it would be good to coincide it with that. This was also to engage with the younger audience living in and around Salisbury, and this saw us gain 288 new followers out of the total 456 for that time period. And we now have almost 600 followers on TikTok, which is modest, but I think it shows that people are still interested in it as a platform. So we're hoping to continue to grow that. Our top city on TikTok is Salisbury, but our viewership is currently a bit more widespread geographically, because the algorithm is learning who we want to target and the audiences that we're targeting. And Laura and I will be setting a challenge for the events assistants at Fair on the Square this year to try and help us grow our TikTok and engage those younger audiences. So we did something similar with Instagram a couple of years ago, and it was quite effective. Can we go to the next slide, please? So similarly to those social media, this is comparing last year versus this year on the website stats. The impressions have remained steady while page views and clicks have decreased a bit. And as outlined on the slide, this seems indicative of a change in search engine behaviors. Zero-click searches are something that's increasingly more prevalent due to AI overviews, and people aren't always clicking directly onto our web pages. Google has recently, though, started showing AI sources in traffic. This was introduced, I think, May this year. So we'll be able to see going forward how much of our traffic is coming from AI platforms. Total sessions is down only a bit, so users might be finding the information they're looking for more quickly, which is potentially decreasing those page views and clicks on our site. But at the bottom, you'll see that the average position has improved significantly on last year, which shows a strong sign of improved visibility, and it can lead to future gains. We introduced our What's On page early last year, and we've seen an improvement in rankings for searches such as What's On in Salisbury, similar ones like that. But overall, I think we're in a strong position on our website and social media. Any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, any questions? Councillor Hocking?
Chair, thank you. Thanks, Charlotte. All looks good fun. So how do we know if this is doing the council or the city or its residents any good? Yeah, so if I went to the duck feeder, for example, how do we measure the benefit to the duck feeder of social media? Do we send someone round and stand by the duck feeder and say, hi, where did you hear about this? Oh, I heard it on TikTok, or I heard it on Facebook, or I heard it on, how do we, this is all well and good and it looks fantastic, but how do we define the tangible benefits of having a super duper social media position?
Yes, this is a good question and one that we are constantly asking ourselves as well. For the duck feeder, no, we don't have someone there. Perhaps it's something that could be introduced through a QR code, because with our events, we're wanting to introduce more surveys for people. We've done it with St. George's Day. There's one currently out for Armed Forces Day, inviting people to share feedback on the event, which includes how they heard about the event. And I know during the event, at our information stand, people can come up and we have the survey there actually at the event. But other than that, so far we're just looking at ways that we can do that better. It's much easier through our ticketed events, because there's obviously an actual process and then they can fill it in directly on our platform. But for unticketed things and things such as the duck feeder, it's a little bit trickier to define that.
I'd pick duck feeder just because it was a simple individual one thing to look at, but providing we are doing some sort of surveys as to, you know, how people heard about us or where they've come from or how they've got here, then okay, fair enough. And I appreciate it's going to take a bit of time to build that.
Yeah, we're just looking to implement them more and more. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Brown?
Thanks. I've got a technical question, as you were talking about the use of AI. And I just don't know why would AI take you to Salisbury's webpage?
No, it was the opposite. So we saw a little bit of decline in views and clicks. So because of the AI overviews that are so prevalent and have been increasingly more prevalent compared to last year and this year, there's more zero-click searches where people will search something and the answer is just there and they don't click onto our website.
Right.
So if I get this right, if I, old school, if I Google something, I might have originally said, what's on in Salisbury? It would have given me the link to our council website. I would have then clicked on that, gone to the web page and found out. Now Google pulls the information for me, spits it out. I don't need to click onto the web page anymore.
Yeah, so we've just been seeing these changes over the last year and we're going to continue to see how that affects our site.
Right. Now I understand. Thanks.
So logically following, sorry, if I jumped in. So logically following on from that then, can we not go to Copilot or Gemini and say, hi Gemini, get me 1 million hits on TikTok, please? Go away and do that. Can we do that? And if not, why can't we ask Gemini to go and do all this work for us rather than us doing it ourselves? So this is what AI is all about, isn't it? Making it easier. I don't know, I'm just asking.
I don't think Gemini has an integrated function yet to post on all our socials.
As I say, I think on that, Sven, there's two issues. One, if Gemini's pulling information, it just doesn't register as interaction. And secondly, yes, you can pay for bots if you want to, but that's just another general issue with social media, and maybe not one for the council to go down. But yeah, the problem is when AI again, this is personal reading. The issue the world is grappling with is when AI jumps onto your website, it will pull the information. Nobody, not even, it's like a thief in the night. Nobody even knows it happens. Therefore, your advertising revenue goes down, your clicks go down, everything. And that's why Google are now trying to be the nice guys and at least show where it came from. Because, yeah, Councillor Bevan.
Thanks, Charlotte. Social media, definitely, this last year, I've definitely seen a lot more coming out on that everywhere that I tend to Google, as you say, it seems to pop up a lot. As regards to duck feeder, I didn't say anything to my wife or my daughters. They found the duck feeder and go there every couple of weeks to feed the ducks via social media. That's the way they found it. So I hope other people are using it that way, and I hope the duck feeder is a good thing anyway, and we need to get people more interested in those things. So if we keep posting stuff like that, obviously we are getting responses. It would be good, as Sven said, to know if these things are working, but social media is definitely, the last year since I've been with the committee, it's definitely improved and much more views are being seen. So well done.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? Otherwise, I've got one last for myself. Spudman. I think it came up in the full council just after it happened, but as we've got this update here, and going for interactions and things and finding social media, I was amazed through my teenage and younger children that I have, of all of a sudden, things that I knew about through being on the council was making it to the playground. and that was a really effective thing, because it did get all generations, it wasn't for everyone, but that did seem really good. I'm just curious, was that a flash in the pan? Was that a one-off? Are we planning more Spudman level things? Because again, I think from just looking at the quick numbers in those examples, it wasn't just the first, it was 6 times bigger than the others, which are all very consistent. So you can sort of see our background level of likes and forwards and messages, and then Spudman was a level above. So just wondering, whether that's something to continue to look for, and then linking it to events, much more of come to the launch of a fair, come to this, and we've got influencer / modern day celebrity. Oh, I'm seeing a finger to my right, so I'll
You're probably
turn
going to
this
say what
way.
I'm going to say.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely, the business team are always looking for the next big thing. I think what was exceptionally refreshing about Spudman was the lack of an appearance fee. And that is a big difference between Spudman and other, let's call them influencers, who will turn out, who will do things, but will ask for £5,000, £10,000 to come and do that. Now, there will be other people out there, and I know the team are constantly scouring for those opportunities, but it doesn't feel like a good use of public money to subsidise these private enterprises by giving them huge appearance fees.
No, that's useful. And yeah, I personally totally agree, and I think that's probably shared by many on the council. Thank you. Any other thoughts on Spudman as I raised it? Otherwise, all the duck. Anything else on the duck feeder? As I say, still singular, waiting to expand the duck feeder empire. Perfect. In that case, then let's move on. So I think is it markets next? Thank you very much.
Welcoming up Dave, the market manager.
Hi, I'm Dave, Senior Markets Officer. So, talk about what? Right, sorry, this is a very, was it unscripted? He's just thrown me into the deep end here, really.
Committee's live.
Right. Yeah. Street seller's been going well, even though I've not had a budget for it this year. I've managed to put on a brilliant dog show. The art day was good, just as good. Getting workshops to come and work with us. And then just posting a little bit about their business, giving a little bit of advertisement for their business. And like Salisbury dog trainers give me a lot of help for the dog shows. So it gives them some advertising, which then didn't cost me nothing. I've again got other workshops from other street sellers. And then hopefully in September, well, it will go ahead. There's going to be a Salisbury's Got Talent, which I'm hoping to be still working with Colin from Salisbury Live to promote it. We are going out looking for like a celebrity judge, a local one. At the minute, we've not got a lot of feedback from that because obviously I've not got a budget for this. So it's going out for just asking people to do it for nothing. The talent show's going to have different categories, different age group categories, and like it says, they're open to all. Next Sunday, we've got 3 yoga workshops going on to our games day. I've got a like a kids school obstacle course. There's also sport district sports, who's coming with an arena for absorbing and stuff like that, with a big ball for kids to do, kick the ball at this big dartboard thing, and some other stuff that's coming. Quite big. Yeah, there's a lot more to come, but it'd be worth coming Sunday to see it. And that's it on the street sellers.
Any questions on our street sellers? Or are we moving on? Oh yes, Salisbury Market. Sorry.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing that because we've got so many traders that are like all food traders. Like people seem to be baking left, right, and centre and stuff like that. So we have been talking about doing a street food market, like a evening thing, food event, but that's in very like early days at the minute. Obviously showing international cuisine. Yeah, and basically that's in very early sort of stages of like talking about doing that. But yeah, I've got so many bakers and food vendors that we need to do some bit with them so that we don't lose them.
If I may, that's a really good example of looking at how we're trying to maximise an asset there. So you've got a waiting list of traders that we can't get any rent from because we don't have any room on our market. So we're finding a new way to host them all together.
Perfectly said, Luke.
Perfect. Councillor Corbyn.
Would you consider combining like the vegan market and things like that, like a gluten-free, have like your alternative and do like an evening market. And if there's music and everything, having it so that it sort of rumbles on a bit like does in London, because there's always something going on in London. Is that what you're thinking?
That
Yeah.
sort of thing.
That'd be great.
Like,
Yeah.
bring all sorts of food, like.
Yeah.
every
We
bit of
definitely
food.
support that.
Yes.
Dave, just to say, really great stuff. I know this is the first time you've come to committee, and there's really exciting stuff about what the future looks like.
Yeah.
The year that's just gone past, we brought in more income than we had before. I think it just topped 300,000. So given the economic conditions in the rest of the city, really great job. Can you tell some of the committee members what some of the challenges have been over the course of the past year? Because I think with lots of things going on in the background, making sure that we support the market is really important to people.
Challenging things. One of the first challenging things, like, has been when I took over as the market manager, obviously repairing a few relationships that have been damaged by ex-employees. Was the toilet issue was a very big challenging effect on all our events. So that was quite challenging, but as the market does, we overcome it and we got by. But other, like, the general lack of tourists in the city on Tuesdays are like making we've got our regular traders that come all the time, but the casual traders, whereas like 1 year, 2 years ago, I had like 10 casuals coming on Tuesday, which we get more money, more rent from them as well, aren't coming. I'm getting a few coming on the Tuesday, but they're just not sticking around. So it's like quite hard to grow it on the Tuesday. That's been quite a challenging thing. Yeah, not having a cash collector, having to jump in and do the cash collecting myself quite a bit was very challenging to begin with. Something that I didn't expect to be doing when I took it on, but like I said, we just got on and done it. And then that's I don't know.
That's good. And just on the Tuesday then, the challenges, so you mentioned sort of lack of tourists. Is it then footfall is just down on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Do we know why Salisbury's not getting tourists anymore?
Yeah. No, I don't know. We haven't had a poison. So
No, that's what I say, yeah.
We need,
From the last
we need
decade,
another
it
big
should be
event,
fine.
don't we?
Yeah.
Yes. It's
It is
just down like quite a bit. We get our regulars, which is, we will keep, and they do well, but generally in quite a big decline.
Yeah.
And you just notice it because you don't see the big groups of old ladies coming down from like Scunthorpe or somewhere, on the old coach trips anymore.
Yeah. Councillor Rimmer, yes.
Thank you. Firstly, I just wanted to say well done with it all, because I think the market's great, and I think it's one of the best things in Salisbury. And whenever I have people visiting me, it's always something that people comment on of how good it is and how good it compares to other places. So well done on everything we're doing with it. On what we were just saying, I mean, I suppose I should declare an interest if I mentioned the cathedral, because I work there. But I wonder whether other places that have tourists, whether we've ever looked at how we could attract people who come as tourists to places like the cathedral, museums, etc., how we could find a way of letting them know about the market, particularly on a Tuesday, if it's a struggle, whether there's, I don't know exactly how, but whether we've ever had conversations with other organisations like that about any way that, and I suppose they're not necessarily going to be that keen if they have their own catering offerings, etc., but how we might be able to let people know about that. Because I often see people in the close who, will talk, will say, oh, how do I get into town? And they don't really know the link between getting from the cathedral close to here, and whether we've ever looked at that.
Absolutely, Councillor. I think the re-establishment of the Wiltshire LVEP is going to assist with that for a more joined-up approach, as well as the existing networks we have with the Place Partnership. In terms of footfall, you are seeing a number of organisations across the city over the past year have either plateaued or reduced in terms of their footfall. And in particular, they are seeing a reduction in American tourists, which is hitting the footfall, but also in terms of the amount of money that's being spent in the area. So we are absolutely having those conversations, but I reiterate, the economic conditions at the moment are quite tough out there for businesses.
Yeah, Councillor Brown.
Some general question about all of this. It's not entirely related to markets, but it's about what we're talking about. Footfall and tourism and teams of ladies from Scunthorpe. Other than what you just said, Asa, about Elvic and whatever it's called, what do we specifically do as Salisbury City Council on tourism promotion?
The direct answer and not glib answer is not a lot, councillor, because it's not a priority that's been given to officers of the council. Previously, there was a lot of money spent by this council on supporting attendance at cruise ship conventions and things of that nature. Those were approved as cuts through the joint administration. So at the moment, tourism is not one of the priorities that we've been given by the administration.
Councillor Hocking.
Chair, thank you. I thought we'd done away with cash collections. We still...
We still need to go around and collect the rents, even if it's by card. We still do collect cash off a few of them. It's gone down to, like, I think it's about 70% of them pay card, and there's about 30% that still pay the cash. But they're the ones that don't actually own their business. They are working for somebody else, and they won't give them a bank card. So I am in the middle of making them put it into their bank so they can pay on their personal bank accounts, but without actually, like, making
I know these...
Chair, if I can just give a clarification on that. There is nobody employed at the council now with the job title cash collector. Those roles were removed. Those jobs were removed from the council. Those functions are now part of other people's jobs. So we no longer have people who are expressly only employed to be cash collectors. You're quite right, Councillor Hocking, those jobs were removed.
Yeah, that's right. And they were removed because we were going away to making everybody pay electronically. So we should be making everybody pay electronically, shouldn't we? And why can't we do that? I understand what you're saying about it's not their business, so they can't have a bank card, but the person who booked the stall...
That is the direction of travel we're moving in, councillor. We want everybody to be paying by card.
Yeah, which, like, a lot of them want to pay in direct debit, which I've been asking to be able to set up a direct debit for months and months now. Last time I spoke to Steve Bishop about it, he told me that he was in the middle of talking to the banks to see whether we could set up direct debits for that. And the reason why someone's got to go around, because you still got to collect the actual card. It's like, unless they all come to me, so you still got to have someone going around the market, ultimately cash collecting, but with bank cards, you know.
Night markets, by the way, that sounds like a lot of fun. If you combine that with a bit of music or something, I reckon that would be a definite goer.
Perfect. Oh, yep, Councillor Brown.
It's a very specific question on the night markets. Have the traders that are on the list and they're not able to be rented a slot because it's full, have they said they would be interested in a night market? Because you talked a lot about, the reason I'm saying is you talked a lot about bakers, and I'm not sure who wants to bake good at 7 o'clock at night.
No. As I said, this is like a very early stage sort of thing. But I know that at least 20 of them would be up for it. Even my regular market traders would be up for doing some sort of night thing during the week. Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Councillor Rimmer.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't want to elongate this forever, but I was just going to add that, for what it's worth, I reckon that the night market thing is a really good idea, but I think it would work better if it had a specific theme, like a specific each one was a specific cuisine or a specific type of thing, rather than just sort of a night version of the food that we have at the general one. Having it with a more sort of coherent, exact theme might get people to come along specifically for it. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Sorry, I 100% agree with what you're saying, but for me to get like, I don't know, say enough Chinese people to come, I've got a long list, but I've not got a long list of like 10 Chinese people to come and do one event, and then 10 Thai people. So what I would be doing it is like my thinking like would be sort of walk through the international, like, you know, you're walking through the Chinese bit, then you go into the Thai bit, then go on, sort of that sort of style.
I say, walk the globe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, say those broader themes. Perfect. I've been waiting. Just to jump away from the night market, one question. The Salisbury's Got Talent, when I was looking at this earlier.
Yeah.
What age are we talking here in terms of?
Yeah, I'm thinking sort of up to 13. Obviously, I need to get clarification on.
So with children?
Yeah, this is. I just need to do the risk assessment and get all that sort of side of it clarified first. But it would be sort of maybe from, I don't know, from 10 to 13, and then 13 to say 17 or something, and then 18 plus.
Yeah. No, it was only just looking at the date, and I wanted to check that whether there's a way of getting even an early notification to schools.
Yes,
before they break
up. Me and Charlotte were speaking the other day about. She's gone. Yeah, we were speaking the other day about putting a post out to the schools. I've just made up a little flyer of my own, and which I'm going to give out to the schools. I've spoken to my son's head teacher, Mr. Kitley at Woodlands Primary School. He's going to help me get in contact with any other people that he thinks would be good for it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, you're on that track. That's what I was thinking is, if we can catch them before the summer break, then they can prepare and be ready. Whereas if we catch them the week before, it's a bit short notice.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. No, thank you for all those answers to our questions.
That's fine.
Any last today?
No, well done. It can be quite daunting to sit in front of a load of people like us, and especially if you haven't done it before. So no, great effort, good stuff. See you next time. Yeah, excellent.
Yes,
well done.
Definitely.
Yeah,
thank you very much, Sven. Thank you.
No, and as was said earlier, thank you. The market's a real gem for the city. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Did you want me to talk about why the income has come down, and there's like a little bit of a discrepancy in the takings?
If you want to pass comment, I think it comes up in the finance later.
I'd just like to say on them finance things, where it's down, like obviously on there, I've got on my budgeting form last year, I've had an income of 12,000, I think it's 12 or 13,000 from street sellers from the previous year, but I didn't do the street sellers that year. So obviously that's got to be deducted off it. And then I've had four days that I had to cancel. 2 of them days were Saturdays, which is like 3.5 grand. So that's like 7,000. And then there was another Tuesday, which is I think about £1,700 that we had to cancel. So, you know, it's like, although the figures look like they're down, but actually they're not, because there's reasons behind why they're actually down.
Yeah.
And then also not having a budget for these street sellers that I've put on, the 3 street sellers that I've just put on, and Salisbury's Got Talent is, it's all being done on without a budget.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you are definitely taking things further than we should expect.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luke.
And defending your corner as well. Yeah, excellent stuff. Good for you.
Yeah, if I may, although the graph makes it look a bit heavier because of the size of the income that Dave brings in, the 24k variance was only 4% of his income target down.
Yeah, as I say, proportionately, yeah. If everyone could hit that, perfect. Great. No, thank you very much again. And thanks for coming this evening.
So next up, Lowell, the events manager. And if you could just excuse me for a second.
So yes, good evening, everybody. So starting off with events, and one of the major things that we've just been working on since last year is our current contractor that installs our city decoration, doing the bunting and the festive lighting, is due to finish in a few months. So we've been working with Hampshire Council's procurement department and also their legal department in preparing the tender, and for the first time ever having a very strong contract that we can hold our contractors to. And what I've done this time is I've also included the power for the 2 pop-ups every year, just to sort of help with our buying power and everything, because it's the same people that supply the power that also do the festive lighting. So unfortunately, there is a slight delay due to the writing of the contract, but it is hopefully going out tomorrow and being published. So that's the first thing. Then our first event for the year, St George's Day, was a very successful event. We went with a slightly different layout as well because we had the temporary stage, so we made the most of that. And also as well, in events, we have an income target like everybody, and it's very hard on a one-day event. So we rely a lot on our traders. And again, to make it worthwhile for the traders, we need to make sure that we encourage people to come and spend their money. So what I did this year is I sort of pushed them all together to make much more of a sort of a retail unit, so that once the people got in there to the first stall, they had to sort of walk around everything, and then in the hope they would spend their money. And the good news, yes, it's very minimal, but again, for a one-day event, we underspent by £400, and then we generated an extra 500 more than our budget target. So, you know, that's not too bad, hopefully, and hopefully everybody had a fun day as well. Next slide, thank you. So events also look after Teenage Market. And that is growing in size, and we're actually increasing the amount of pitches. At the moment, we only offer 20, and the Teenage Market is really to encourage local young entrepreneurs to become our traders for tomorrow. So we cover them for their public liability. We write the risk assessments and everything else. We also give them opportunities at Christmas, the festive markets. Dave gives me some stands that I can fill with the teenagers, because obviously in retail, that's the busiest time where they make the most money. And we're going to be introducing as well for Fair on the Square. We normally have our barrows that we're putting out, and when they're empty over the 7-week period this summer, we're going to offer that out to the teenagers as well, so that it's a win-win for everybody. We've got the barrows being used, and the young ones are getting some publicity, but also it shows and encourages other people to come and hire them. Armed Forces Day, obviously when the slide was being made, we were in the midst of that, so I can't really report on the figures till they're fully finalised. So we'll do that at the next one. But hopefully you saw that there was it was a much bigger event than what it was last year. We had more uptake from the military units, and that was with working very closely with Southwest Brigade. And we introduced as well the civic parade for the first time, which we'll try and grow that again for next year to try and make that much more of a thing. And thank you to all the councillors that attended that day. Fair on the Square, we go to build on Sunday, and as you've all guessed by now, the theme is seaside. And yeah, we did our very first PR launch for this event, where we invited down the mayor to do a speech and some press. And one of the things that we did was we purchased some Fair on the Square rock to give away to the public to try and get them excited about the event. And also, one of the biggest things that I'm bringing to Fair on the Square, and I drive everybody mad in this building when I talk about it, because I may die on my own sword, but I'm actually introducing Salisbury's very first rock that will be coming, and you'll be able to buy that at Fair on the Square or in the Tourist Information Centre. And I just think, you know, you come to a city like this, the last thing you're going to expect to find is some rock. So hopefully at £1.20, it will fly off the shelves. And hence why we had the little slithers made to get everybody excited. So I've gone a bit of a different way this year, and I've reduced the price right down, because I had noticed year on year that our footfall had slightly fallen at the activities. So I've reduced the price to what it was originally when we first started, of £3.50, and the hope that maybe by reducing it, it will encourage more people, because I understand as well, people's disposable income is not as it was 5 years ago when we first started doing this. And then what I've also done is we're going to have a range of smaller activities. So instead of just having mini golf or croquet like we've done before with a few table games, we are going to have mini golf, because you have to, it's the seaside, but it will be a much smaller one that will be a bit easier and won't take so long for people to play. Along with that, we're going to have bowls. So there will be sand on the square and you'll be able to play bowls. We're going to have skittles, and we'll also have some swing bowls. And I've bought a small one as well, so that we can encourage toddlers to play. And then along with that, we'll have table tennis, table football. I've also introduced a couple of chess tables this year as well. And the table football and the chess tables will be available when the activities close, because the bar will then take over some of them and collect the money for us, because they're very popular things that you do when you're out in the bar. And then we've also we can't have a beach sim without having anything for the kids to play in. So we're having 2 purpose-built sand pits that will be able to cover at night and things as well, so it's all protected. And we've got 3 for 3 this year, and that will be the 3 things that people can play is the sand pits, Jenga, and I've also bought a big Connect 4. So again, it's a little token, and what we're trying to do is encourage people to keep coming back. So one of the things that I've got is the other thing that I've given you this evening, is our activity card. So parents can buy this now in the information centre. They pay for 9, so it costs them £31.50, but they actually get 10 goes. And we're hoping that that will also help families, because sometimes August can be a very expensive month, but they may have the money to come and spend it now, but then come down and visit us during August when the activity is open. So we are all very excited. And as Charlotte said, we're also setting the target for our events assistants, because most of them are the target audience that we're trying to encourage to come to our events. And what better people to do TikTok, because that's what they use, but also as well, they can engage with that area, the people that we're trying to encourage. So watch out for the day in the life of an event assistant and all of that sort of thing that we will be showing out there in the world. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions? Yeah, Councillor Rimmer.
Thank you. It all sounds great, and I think the theme for Fair on the Square sounds very good. As you all know, I'm hugely in favour of trying to save taxpayers' money, but when it comes to themed suites with every agenda item, my principles go out the window, I'm afraid. Very good.
Perfect. Just cover him. So, Councillor Bevan. Is...
Armed Forces Day is really good, but possession we definitely need to work on. My nephew Kane, he's a submariner in the Navy, brought his children, was expecting a parade. I feel maybe not something like Remembrance Day, but if we can build it as it is Armed Forces Day, and as you said, we've got a lot of interest from the guys that are building the stalls, if they, before that, can all make a parade and walk with us as we open it, I think that would be definitely a better way of starting the day off, because, yeah, they were a bit disappointed with what started off. This is the first Armed Forces Day I've been to. I did expect a forces involvement within the procession, so it's definitely something we need to look at, I feel.
Yeah, the problem that we have with the forces is that because of their commitments and times and everything else, it's really difficult to get them to agree to attend. And especially nowadays, because the soldier long gone have a Wednesday afternoon and a Friday afternoon off. Most soldiers work 6 days a week, so Sundays can tend to be their only days off. And then to ask them to come and do a day's work, can be quite an ask. But as I say this, the Army's turn, so for the last few years, they've not really had to encourage people to come and sign on. That, with Afghanistan, Iraq, and everything else that's been taking place, people have been knocking at their doors and wanting to sign up. And obviously, since Afghanistan ended, they've seen a huge drop in that. So they are actually now turning to doing a lot of advertising, which is why Southwest Brigade were very helpful, and we're hoping to help us as much as they can. And we've already said that for next year, we need to start talking a lot earlier so that they can be then prepping the units within the area to get them to commit to the manpower. So yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I take on board your points totally, Councillor.
Yeah, I mean, I even feel just with the cadets that are all on the stalls, if we even got them together at the start, I'm sure they'd have been quite happy to have been part of that procession. And I feel that would have been good just to get a bit more involvement.
Yeah, and we were expecting them, but they didn't turn up.
Councillor Hocking.
Chair, thank you. One of the reasons for a very short parade was the shocking attendance of councillors. I think there were 6 out of 24, which is poor, given that this is a civic event. So all those that didn't go next year, put it in your diary, please. Lol, I get why the Army will say they're really busy, they've got this to do and that to do and blah, 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 blah. But from where I sit, the Royal Military Police, Rifles, Royal Artillery, we have given them the freedom of the city, and I would expect them to repay that honour with a bigger presence than we've had in the last several years. I thought Armed Forces Day was quite poor. I thought there was not really a lot going on. Certainly not a lot of armed forces stuff going, and lots of charities. Sea Cadets were there, Army Cadets were there, Air Cadets were there, but the actual presence from the big 3 units that have the freedom of the city was a stall the size of this table. I want some heavy metal on the market square, because that's the stuff that pulls the kids in. Something big and green with a gun on it, or something that flies, or a bomb, or anything. But we need to do something to make Armed Forces Day Armed Forces Day. And I think those units local to us that have the freedom of the city should be reminded that they have the freedom of the city, and they should play a little bit more part in the celebrations on the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to answer that, 2 of the units, so we had the Royal Artillery engagement team and the 5 rifles were trying to bring in vehicles. And again, the way that the military operate nowadays, the movement of the vehicles within the private roads is actually undertaken by a commercial company, which obviously costs them money and movement and everything else. So 5 rifles were hoping to bring a warrior, and because of the logistics and everything else, they weren't given permission to bring it. And then the Royal Artillery engagement team were going to be bringing a light gun. And I'm not quite sure what happened to that, because I did actually speak to their transport department, but they never turned up on the day. So yeah, we do try.
And in response to that, I'd say that sounds like their problem. Yeah, if they can't get the contractor to deliver some stuff for them, they possibly need to have a conversation with their contractor or get a different one. To not show up because their contractor has decided, you know what, I don't want to deliver this on this day, is not acceptable in my book.
I agree. I would say pragmatically, let's try again. It sounds like we got very close. I guess, Sven, the problem is, maybe in my view, we're asking a favour. It may be on their side, but that removes it from our...
So we're not asking a favour. We've given these
ultimately...
units the freedom of the city. I'm looking for some payback.
They may return the freedom of the city, though. I feel that I don't think they are snubbing us in that heavier level. I think there is, apparently, according to the news, tight budgets in the military at the moment, and decisions are made, but we keep pushing, and maybe at the next committee we can ask for an update again. So again, rather than do it retrospectively, let's see what's happening prospectively for next year ahead of time. Yes, Councillor Corbyn.
Maybe we should actually ask those that have freedom of the city to come and give us an update of what's going on in their little world and actually make them feel a bit more connected to us.
Yeah.
You know, at full council, just to break the monotony, especially, I mean, you can ask them now to prepare for next year, but how much interaction do we give them? Yes, we give them the freedom, but that's the extent of our interest until this happens, and then we get the opinion that actually they're not giving something back to us. But we should all be interested in what the forces are doing. It affects everything. So maybe we should invite them here just to give us a talk and say, well, this is what we've done and this is why we've been so busy, and just see what that brings us.
To the CEO, could we invite our regiments to a full council meeting for a hello, and this is what we do?
Short answer, yes. We'd have to liaise with them as to an appropriate date, and as much as the Local Government Act is useful to me, I can't force these people to attend. You'll be pleased to know that as part of the Salisbury 800 celebrations, we have had long conversations, which hopefully will cheer Councillor Hocking in terms of having things to look at and point at. I think we all share the view that having big pieces of equipment is something fantastic, particularly at Armed Forces Day. But yes, I take on board the committee's comment, and will look to invite particularly those 3 units that have the freedom. I'll also liaise with some of our other connections in terms of an appropriate time to come and brief councillors.
Thank you. Really good suggestion. Lovely. Any other questions from anyone else? Oh, yeah, Councillor Bevan, whilst I remember where I was.
Regarding future events, has there anything else been done regarding car-free Sundays?
So that is something that we are speaking, Matt and myself are speaking with city stakeholders, so like Salisbury Reds and organisations like that, because we really need to get them on board, especially because the main hospital bus runs right through the city centre, even on a Sunday. It does a lot of journeys. So yeah, this is something that we are speaking to people, and it is on our agenda, and yes, we are trying to make them happen.
If I can give an undertaking, councillor, it was part of the administration's budget that was agreed at full council. My expectation is the head of business delivers on that during the course of this civic year.
Perfect. Any other questions? Otherwise, I just want to put my full theoretical support behind this card. Again, only survey of one, but my wife did find last year she brought our younger two here, but it was very much a one-off treat. It'll be interesting from her, but also other feedback we can gather as to whether, the sort of smaller, cheaper events makes it a more regular dip in over the holiday period. So I think that's a really good idea. Thank you. Lovely. Otherwise, thank you very much, Lowell. Really good. Oh, no. Thank you very much for your question earlier. Thank you. Would you like some rock? Have loads.
Right, back to me for the Guildhall. We've had a really good Q1, which is good because that was what set us on such a good course last year. We've pretty much got parity, a couple of grand difference. We don't have the big marquee client this year. I think we just had a really consistent level of bookings. Previously quiet areas at times of the year are not so quiet anymore. But it's a simple answer, really. We're doing more business. As I've alluded to, and as you've all seen, the new bar is in place in the foyer. I hope everyone agrees that it looks really good. Seems to fit the area well. It's already returned about a third of the outlay we put onto it. It's made about £3,000 of the 10,000 we spent bringing it in. And this is really just doing the smaller, simpler events. We haven't got to the meaty, like Christmas parties and that, the military dinners and that. We're still doing the sort of slower ticketed events. So the takings of the bar will definitely exceed the outlay in the first year. To that end, we have some discussion with some suppliers for the bar. We're looking at Heineken potentially being a supplier. They have a lot of the most popular brands now. And the advantage of that agreement would be a lot of the servicing costs, the pint glasses, things like that would all be supplied by the brewer. We're never going to be the kind of client that the Oxrow is to a brewer, but we can still leverage the business we have to get a good deal for the supply. Next up will be menus and catering, expanding the in-house menu we offer. We currently do lunch in-house. It doesn't mean that I'm down there with the chef's hat cooking it, but it does mean that we have a contractor that we have an internal agreement with, and for the client's purposes, it's Guildhall lunch. We'd like to bring that into dinner, into Christmas dinner, into party buffets, all of the various things we see here. There's definitely a revenue stream that currently is untapped. Next slide, please. For any existing mayor and any future mayor, sadly, the mayor's parlour is no more in terms of a receiving room for people. It is very much a storage area now. I've taken all the nice things out and distributed them around the building. But it's vital as we continue to do more and more business that we actually have some room to put a bar stock in, to put chairs in. It's too long been a meeting room that was also a cupboard, and now it is just a cupboard, basically. So sorry to all future mayors. And I can't help but look forward to the banquet hall ceiling redecoration in Q4. It's beginning in January. Bit of redecoration for the building, hopefully. You'll see more at full council next week. I've tacked on the external advertising because it belongs to me, but it's not very much a Guildhall thing. The Southampton Road sign that you all know about is proving even more popular than it was last year. It's nearly maximally booked. And the banner sites are more busy than normal. They won't ever bring in the same income because due to wind, we can't fly them for the whole year, but things are all looking good on the advertising. It is time to explore. It's been a busy period, but we do need to explore additional advertising sites in the city. London Road, where the allotments are, has been discussed. Churchill Way East, I think, has been discussed. The principle is to find a patch of land we own, because it's much more likely for us to get planning permission, and then to see if that has the kind of high footfall that Southampton Road has, or relatively equivalent, and then put in a planning application. I think some works that we're hearing about on Churchill Way East is what's delayed us doing it there at the minute, because we don't want to build a sign and have it taken down again. And London Road, nearly got all the bits together to put an application in. Any questions?
Councillor Corbyn.
With the fair on the square and that, are you doing the bar for that?
As much as that would give an absolute fright to all the staff, no, I think it's part of Lowell's arrangement with Columbia Events for
Yeah.
the bar outside.
Would we be working towards that in the future? Because obviously, if you know the bar is working for us, so we're getting an income, then you'd want to expand it so that that would be a better option as well to put it in.
Yeah, and everyone who was at mayor making would have seen us service the
Yeah.
event out on the
Yeah.
square from the Guildhall foyer. I wouldn't initially volunteer us for a 6-week event bar
No.
immediately, but I think that mayor making, it was kind of a happy accident how we ended up planning it. It could be a template for those one-day events for sure.
Yeah, that would be good. And the other thing is, do we have the external advertising on Castle Road that's in Hudson's Field? Is that ours as well?
Yeah, the double wooden frame.
Does that one do okay?
It does really well,
Yeah.
yeah. Its revenue appears slightly higher at times because it's two-sided too.
Yeah.
You could bring in twice the income. And then the rest are cross-street banners, so the High Street is the predominant 2 sites and some on New Canal Street.
Well done. And keep going with the bar.
Just follow up on both of those. You mentioned mayor making bar opening. I, again, was here eating my lunch and saw the signs appear up. How successful was that? I never came in, so did we get people coming in to use the bar?
We did, yeah. Yeah, we just put some A-frames out with the signs and on some ped barriers and serviced the event outside. It wasn't particularly long. I think we finished at 5 o'clock on the day. We didn't really begin until the sort of formalities had ended inside. So in a couple of hours, £900 taken in that time. And that was on a limited service of just lager, pints and wine.
Yeah, happy accent. Think about it. No, it's a good idea. And then I asked Matt at a previous committee meeting, the Hudson's Field Castle Road one, just because I think I'm going mad. Was there a period of time that it was double-deckered?
You've gone mad. No, it was.
It was?
Yes. There was a long period of time after I took it over that there seemed no reason to reject when it was double booked. After I spoke to the contractor, they said we could just batten another bit on top and double deck it.
Yeah.
So I took that opportunity and started selling pitches on top of pitches there. And then we started to break it a little bit by having a lot of wind resistance on top, which rather than fully solve that at that point, we thought, let's try a new sign site. And I'd say we've got the right amount of clientele at Hudson's Field now, but enough backup that it's worth another external sign.
Is it worth it at future ones to look at a more wind-resistant option for double bookings, not necessarily permanently, but that occasionally we could slot in a more structurally sound?
Yeah, so the sign on Southampton Road could easily handle that. It's modern construction. I don't know the origin of the Hudson's Field sign. It's a little bit ramshackle, sort of just stuck in there. There's a lot of wood where you'd want metal. I think a lot of dubious foundations. We could certainly look at putting a bit of investment into that.
Sorry, see a finger to my right.
Chair, would it be useful for the team to bring back a report at the next meeting? Advertising is something that I think has been very, very successful. I appreciate in terms of capacity and other priorities. But would it be useful for the committee to receive a clear report that says we are going to come here, here and here. Here are the things that we're doing to now maximise advertising revenue. So I think we've talked a great game for a while now.
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe it's about a year ago, yes, there was a lot of interest. So yeah, it'd be maybe timely to get a full advertising report in it. From the couple of bullets here, it seems like it's a small, modest, but successful thing that we should support and see what's planned. So yeah, that'd be really good if you could.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, up comes Vicky, the information and shop mob manager.
Right, good evening, everyone. I've reported on my slide about visitor statistics for 24, 25, 26, just for January through to May in those years, but I have actually produced a report going back to 2022 for visitor statistics and up to the end of June for 2026. If I can pass that round to you just to have a look. So these are people that come through the information centre door, and on the pressure map they record that they have come in through the door. Last year, January to May was a bit higher than this year's January to May, but I think you'll see from the figures going around that we're sort of tracking at similar levels throughout the year. The tourism industry is notoriously volatile. It depends on not only weather, but cost of fuel for flying, terrorism, all sorts of things can impact people's decisions to visit. Plus, we also have competition from other towns locally, but also nationally. I did a little study on whether we were up or down for Stonehenge tour bus tickets, because quite a few international visitors come and buy their tickets from us, not all of them, but some of them do. So that gives us a little idea of whether the international visitors are up or down. But I'm pleased to say that we were slightly down in January, we were slightly up in February, we're slightly up in March, we're slightly up in April, we're slightly up in May, and we're slightly up in June. So even though I feel that some of the international visitors have dipped off, they're still coming to Stonehenge and buying tickets for that. A few things that we've done to help promote local things that are happening externally but have an impact on us as a city was we did a table display for Wiltshire Day, which we're trying to do annually now on the 5th of June. We have the Magna Carta Anniversary Day on the 15th of June. Again, we did a nice window display which attracts, every time we change the window, people come in buying different products that are in the window, so we know our window is working for us. This year, last year we sold tickets for the Salisbury Music Festival for the first time, and all on paper tickets. And this year we have asked the organisers if they could do it online, which makes it a lot more streamlined for the customer service team to sell those tickets. So if anyone fancies an evening out in October, you know where to get the tickets. This year we're continually selling tickets for the Studio Theatre, and the latest production was the Noel Coward Double Bill, and we sell also the Ghost Walks, and City Walks with the city guides that are regularly at 11 o'clock every day. If you haven't been on one, I'd highly recommend it. And the Ghost Walks are on Friday evenings. Lol's already talked about the Fair on the Square activity cards, which are now on sale and on the till and ready to be sold. We're hoping to attract the people that are coming in to collect the teddy bear hunt entry forms over the next few weeks for the 100 bears in the shop windows in Salisbury, and we're hoping to capitalise on that by making sure that they realise that they can have this activity card available. So that's one of our sort of joined up thinking things. We have had information stands at 3 events so far this year. So when there's St George's Day, Armed Forces Day, and we're going to have one at the Mellor Fair as well, the Mellor event. And what we're doing is taking items that are for sale in the information centre and having them on the market square. And we're finding that some people, locals particularly, are saying, oh, I didn't know you did this. So, and even if we don't have the items on the information stand in the square, the person that's on the stall is saying, oh, well, if you're interested in that, they're available in the information centres. So we feel that that's been a positive move, having a presence as well as in the information centre, but also out on the market square. Another impact is the closure of the front doors of the Guildhall and sending people round the back to the information centre, because we are dealing with inquiries for the whole of the city council in there, not just tourists. So with switchboard on the phone, emails, dispersing those all out. So we are extremely busy. Even if we haven't got people coming in person, we are all the time busy redirecting calls and emails. 2 members of the team went to the grand opening of the northeast bedroom at Montpesson House, which was nice to interact with our city partner and remind them that we are sending people their way all the time, and keeps our knowledge of the product that is out there up to date, and we share that then with our team members. We also have the ability to show videos on the TV screen in the information centre, and I was concerned that we weren't really promoting the river park very much, but we have subsequently been given a trail map which we are now giving out to customers who come in, and proactively sort of advertising that it's there and it's lovely and people should go and have a drink at the River Park kiosk or whatever. And we managed to get some footage from the Environment Agency of a video promoting the River Park, which is now on display. Our top video for people pausing to wait in the information centre to watch it is the Peregrine Falcon videos. So I'm keeping those on regardless of other things that we add. We're also promoting the events on that TV screen. So Charlotte helps to provide the images to make those. So we're, up to Christmas, we've got events on the video screen. So we're being more proactive with that. We also have a visitors book in the information centre, which people have been writing since June 2024. And I would encourage you, councillors, to have a look at where people are coming from, what they're saying, and just the lovely welcome they get. And I will pass that round as well. The Information Centre has its own social media page, Salisbury Information Centre. We're currently on 4,936 followers. We're trying to get up to the 5,000 mark. So if any of you aren't currently following us on Facebook, please do. Challenges, I would say the cost of living is definitely impacting the sales in the information centre. We are finding that people are buying postcards and magnets as the sort of price range. That's 70p to £3.50 is our most expensive magnet. So that's the sort of range that people have to spend when they have already spent on cafes, but they want something to take home as a memory of their visit. We're noticing that the people that are coming, like the coach groups or the cruise groups that come up, or the people that are staying at the camping and caravan site, have spent their money on those things and have got little spare to spend on souvenirs. Some of our challenges are that the unit costs from suppliers that we get our products in from are increasing, so that limits the margin that we can make on products as well, although we are making adjustments as we can. And another issue that we have is signposting in the city, where people say that they didn't know where we were. there are old-fashioned signposts around the city which don't necessarily point in the right direction, and we find that people are doing circles around and lose track of how to actually find us. But there have been some benefits of having the hoarding on the poultry cross, because there's an information centre advertisement, if you like, on that hoarding, which is showing people where we are at that key sort of crossroads in the city. Just trying to think if I've got anything else. We've currently got a Fair on the Square stroke teddy bear hunt window that's gone up in the information centre from today. So we have a named teddy in both shop mobility and information centre. Is there any questions on this page? Or
Questions on tourist information? Councillor Hocking.
Cheers, very good. Oh, that's really insightful stuff, actually. We'll have a chat with Charlotte about using the power of social media to advertise the bear. And then we'll find out if social media is any good or not, I reckon. I'm just looking at the sheet you did going back a few years. January, February, March 2025, enormous spike in visitors for that 1 year, which then fell back again at the beginning of this year. What happened in January, February, March this year January went from 1,000 people to 1,700. February, 1,300 people to 2,200. So that's a big step just for those 2 months. And it stood out as being a statistical abnormality.
I've been recording the stats for quite a long time, but having that overview of what they're doing year on year is something that we are only just beginning to do.
Right, okay.
So reasons, I mean, it can fit things like March, if Easter is in March, sometimes that has an impact. Trying to think, weather is a big factor. As soon as there is a yellow warning, amber warning, or red warning, people stay home. What else is impacting it? Just, I would say, cost of living is a big thing, and I think the global conflicts and things have had an impact on people travelling. I don't know. It's perhaps other people have other ideas too, but those are mine.
No, thank you. No, but very good stuff.
Any other questions on the information centre yet? Councillor Corbyn.
When I travel, I only ever buy magnets because it depends on your suitcase. A lot of it is your suitcase, and if you've flown, then you don't want to put it over the weight, do you, really? No. So it's the risk factor. My train left the station. With advertising and everything, do we think as a corporate thing we need to contact the coach companies and things and maybe do a proper event here that showcases what we do, what we can offer, get them to come to us, the actual operators, because we don't.
Can I come in on that? So last year I attended, as Salisbury Information Centre, an event that the Cathedral put on that was aimed at travel trade, which are coach operators or group organisers. And I had a stand there to represent the city and made contacts. It's planting a seed, often with the group organisers, because they are planning for 27 and 28. So any presence that we have with travel trade is something that we're investing in our future rather than the now. So I know that money was cut for attending travel trade exhibitions that we used to attend, like the leisure show over in Milton Keynes and there was another one as well, which I've forgotten the name of. And so we used to do that in partnership with the other partners in the city, including the Cathedral. So I think the coaches are still coming at the moment, but is that because we invested a couple of years ago and they put us in their schedule for now.
Yeah, and with the river park being so beautiful and having the coach spaces and obviously Central Car Park having the coach bays just off, it would be really good if we could have some kind of event to try and draw people in and say that this is what we've got. And a lot of the videos that have been shown of it are fantastic. So it's just getting that message out that we are a destination.
Just hand over to Asa, I think.
Thank you, Chair. It's just worth reiterating again that tourism is not one of the priorities that officers have been given here. And unfortunately, when I arrived, one of the sad realizations I came to was that the City Council was spending a considerable amount of money on tourism, whilst those organisations that directly benefited from tourism were not spending anywhere near as amount of money as we were. And hence why, and I appreciate it's been unpopular with a number of officers, but that's why it was brought forward suggestions around cutting the amount of money, because A, it's not a priority, and B, I felt those organisations that did benefit in pounds, shillings and pence should put their hand in their pocket first. That was the conversation we had with the joint administration at the time.
Perfect. It's me pulling that, sorry. Just one more thought, not really a question on that, but I think earlier you were mentioning signs and we're talking about the coaches and we've got a lovely sort of coach area now within the River Park, whether at some point we could, almost do a simple person's attempt to get from the coach area to tourist information and maybe look at, are there better ways we can signpost within our own land? Because of course we can't just stick them up everywhere, but it should be very easy for people to step off a coach and find their way to tourist information. I regularly myself walk through town and am asked by tourists or overhear tourists thinking one or the other, and until they spot the spire, they start heading off towards South Wilts and the leisure centre, and I fear for where they'll end up. So yeah, I could see that as maybe a simple, quick win, as they say. We just need to funnel them maybe a bit better as well.
It also doesn't help that sometimes they get dropped off in St John Street and then have to find their way to the coach park for the collection time because the coach isn't able to wait for a length of time where they got dropped off.
So even more fun and confusion for our visitors. Yes, and that might be something to look into. Lovely, thank you. Any other questions on Tourist Information Centre? Otherwise, let's go to mobility or shop mobility, sorry.
So shop mobility, I have a series of statistics again, which I have got, but I was only allowed one slide. So I have put up the shop mobility daily hires. This is the number per month of daily hires that we get, that we send out on shopping trips or whatever into Salisbury. So 2022 through to 2026. Just to clarify that the June figure was up to the 24th of June 2026 because of the timing of getting these slides in. I can say that has gone up to 212 on where it currently says 183 on the purple column, because I now have the month-end figures. Daily hires, it's again, we're dependent on who our customers are at Shop Mobility. Sometimes we have one-off casual customers who just hire for the day because they're here visiting, but we quite often have regular customers who are hiring 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week, just depends on the individual. Market days, Tuesdays and Saturdays, definitely we are our busiest days in Shop Mobility because they're wanting to go to the market. It's the other factors that we record are things like registration numbers, re-registration numbers, And the other thing we record are the number of long-term hire days. That means they hire on one day, have the equipment overnight, and then return it after a number of days. So I have all those figures here if anyone wants to see the up-to-date versions of those as well. Our current challenges at Shop Mobility include the rough sleepers who are occupying the areas in around the Shop Mobility car park and in the central car park, causing it's just not a very nice, pleasant place for vulnerable people to come and hire equipment. But there is, in recent weeks, there has been an injunction which Wiltshire Council, I believe Councillor Sample has put into place. We're in the early days of reporting incidents to the enforcement team at Wiltshire Council, and we've been given an email, a name of an individual who we can report directly to, so that they can keep tabs on what is actually going on from our operational side. I think Keith Jackson, our CCTV manager, is going to be hopefully meeting up with that individual from Wiltshire Council called Stephen Neat, I think he's called, and are hoping to have further discussions to help us to have a sort of better environment really for our customers to be hiring and using our facilities. Because not only are we hiring out equipment, we are also very much a hub for people to come to. Maybe we're the only people they have seen that week, and having conversations, a drink and a chat. So there's that element to our service. We're a cool space in summer and we're a warm space in winter.
Any questions? Oh, yeah, Councillor Hocking.
Thank you, Chair. Just talk a little bit more about slightly longer term hire. So I popped in, my sister-in-law has a scooter which doesn't work particularly well. I had a puncture. So I dropped into Shop Mobility last week. Could you fix this? No, but go up to is it? Inspire Mobility at Churchfields.
They do all our maintenance and servicing.
So they do that up there, do they? So I just wondered if there was any merit in doing a little bit more of that at our facility, or is there no room, or is it just technically too difficult? Because the guy out there's got a huge workshop. Yeah.
So all the sort of technical stuff that we need to have sort of regular servicing as far as our insurance is concerned, so that our insurers are satisfied that we are maintaining the equipment correctly. We don't have in-house engineers. We have customer service officers who deal with the public and the individual's needs.
So is long-term hire an option? Because talking to the chap up there, I didn't get the feeling they did that from his place. It was you could buy or sell, and that was it.
From Inspire Mobility, they sell equipment,
Yeah.
and if they get inquiries for hiring, they send them down to us. And if we get inquiries for someone wanting to buy equipment, we likewise reciprocate and say, if you want to try out equipment, by all means do. But if they're wanting long term to buy something, it would be in their interest to buy it.
Yeah, no, I mean, sort of, if it was for a weekend or a week or a month.
Yeah.
Or
So
something
long
for a
term
particular-
hire is you. We're open Monday to Saturday. They can come in on any day of the week, apart from Sunday, in order to pick up. Long term hires would be travel scooters and wheelchairs, and sometimes rollators, shop walkers. Those are the three items that we hire out on long term. This year, I think when we looked at fees and charges, we made a conscious effort to increase the cost of long-term hire this year because we felt our main thrust was to have people coming to Salisbury and spending their money in Salisbury. The long-term hire means that they can take the equipment back to their hotel or back to maybe a holiday cottage where they're staying, or sometimes even holidaying elsewhere. We try and encourage them to hire locally to where they're going, but if there's no facility, sometimes our equipment goes within the country, but usually within a radius of us. We have a telephone number where we can they can troubleshoot any problems that they've got while they're away, but they go away knowing that if there's a mechanical failure while they're away, we wouldn't be able to support that from a distance.
Okay, fair comment. Thank you.
Perfect. Just question for me, looking at the numbers, and again, unless I think generally the trends are about the same. I don't want to get too much into the sort of up and downs year on year. It doesn't seem that big, and unless Salisbury's suddenly having a mobility boom and the demand is dropping away, I'm sure it's going to be similar. Just curious because we have a presence sometimes on the market at events and with the train station. Just wondering how those sort of external presences are going.
Okay,
yeah.
so yes, we're having market stalls, which we're having run by, we're setting up the customer service team and set down, but the daily running, well, the hourly running on the stall is done by our willing and helpful volunteers. They don't generate income for us because any products that we sell on the shop mobility stalls are fundraising for the charity, which then buys us new equipment when our equipment has passed its sell-by date. So we do the market stalls. This week, a colleague and myself are going up to Archer's Court this Wednesday morning to go and attend a coffee morning to sort of sell our services to the residents there, and hopefully to the wardens as well, because they'll see a turnover of people living at Archer's Court. With the railway station manager, things have gone a bit quiet on that front. We have a poster up on a platform somewhere, which we negotiated, which enables people to, when they arrive at Salisbury, to phone our service, and if we have the staffing available, could meet them and greet them at the station on a wheelchair, and then escort them back to register, because a lot of paperwork has to be filled in to satisfy the insurers. So the next step for that was that they said that they would try and get as part of the disability train ticket booking, would get it so that if they were travelling to Salisbury, that they could book equipment through us. That hasn't really materialised yet. I last spoke to the station manager at the Rail 200 event when I attended something at the railway station, and he said that he really ought to get back in touch with me. So the ball is sort of in their court, because they have to amend their web bookings to accommodate, our service really, but they're keen to do that because they want to be seen as the most accessible, friendly station, but it hasn't quite got to that point yet.
Perfect. No, thank you for that update. And yeah, I will keep asking, but as you say, the ball's in their court. But yes, if we can get that to work, I think that'd be a really good connection. Lovely. Any other shop mobility questions? No. Lovely. Well, otherwise, thank you very much. So, I think the final part of the team update. So next time, you're going to have to draw lots as to who gets to come first, because it's a real.
Yeah. You're talking to someone who's got to present a financial dashboard later, Steve.
That's it. It still comes. Yeah.
Well, good evening, everybody. Okay, so yeah, with the first slide for the crematorium and cemeteries was the upgrade of the cremator sort of equipment. So basically, the mechanism now pulses the fire that feeds the flame as opposed to keeping it on, and that's towards the end of a cremation. Don't really have the burners on at the beginning of a cremation due to the fuel that's, the charge that's placed into the chamber. And with the preheats, it was the original, working closely with Brett Warren at Wiltshire Council, the preheat would have to be at 800 if the fumes from the cremator are abated, go through the flue gas treatment. But now it used to take the exit temperature at 800, but we've now gone to the inlet temperature, which is near a burner. So with the fuel, again, with how the cremation process works, it then doesn't take as long to preheat in the mornings. Like on a Monday morning, you could be looking at 3 hours preheat, but now it's probably about an hour and a quarter. And then with the way that the process happens, then the coffin, as you're aware, is all placed in with the remains, and that actually helps the combustion and then to bring the temperature up throughout the day. But yeah, it would save about 20,000 per year with this. And we're one of the first ones in the country to have this upgrade. But it's all now from December, the rest of the country, December last year, the rest of the country are sort of following this way of operating. So it's still, maintaining the operational performance. So it's still done with dignity and respect as was before, but it's just not so much fuel is being used. So for the likes of us that are still alive, breathing in all this air, every little bit sort of helps. Okay, next slide, please. So in last financial year, 24-25, we carried out 1,296 cremations, and then 1,305 in the last financial year, 2025-26. We were 68,000 under target for cremation income in 25-26, and I felt that this was due to the target being set too high. This also sort of has an impact with obviously the death rate, which does take a sort of a large factor in this, extreme weather conditions and such events like COVID pandemic. Personally, I would feel wouldn't be advisable just keep upping the cremation fees twice yearly due to the sensitivity of what we are doing every day, in the working week, and what our competitors close to us are. When I started in their Salisbury crematorium in January 95, we were carrying out approximately 1,800 cremations a year. And now we're about 1,300. So I think that equates to roughly about one cremation less a week. But we've got like 6 new crematoria around Salisbury. Again, when I started in January 95, it was just ourselves here in Salisbury and Kingsdown Crematorium in Swindon. But now you've got North Wiltshire Crematorium, West Wiltshire Crematorium, Test Valley Crematorium, Basingstoke Crematorium, Andover Crematorium, and the New Forest Crematorium. So it would have an impact on the amount of cremations that take place in Salisbury. For example, again, when I moved from Poole Crematorium to Salisbury, Southampton Crematorium were carrying out approximately 4,000 cremations a year. And now that's with 2 chapels, 6 cremation units, as opposed to our 2. But now they're carrying out less cremations than us a year due to having 2 private sector crematoria 11 miles either side on the motorway. So in our, my sort of outlook, I think we're not doing too badly, and things have changed over the years with direct cremations. With that in sort of mind, going back to what I just said, cremation numbers have decreased by 27.5% from 1995 to the last financial year of 25-26. So we're currently operating at 72.5% of our 1995 volume. But again, we've got all the, the competition around. Directs equated to 27% of our cremations in 25-26 and 24% in 24-25. Again, it's nationally, it's sort of around 25%, but it's sort of plateaued at that now. And I think there'll always be, that market due to, the economic climate and such like. So we do have a fair amount of those cremations. So we have them, from like Bournemouth. We have a significant amount from Bournemouth funeral directors, and they, come up usually like tomorrow. I'll be at the crematorium at 6:30. We start receiving those at 7 o'clock, and we've got 5, and they're not on our daily lists, which is on our, on our calendar on the website. So they're going along in the sort of background. So we also do the receptions, which is like the next stage up. So nobody attends directs. Receptions are when you have just, the family wishing to witness the coffin being borne into our premises. Burials continued to be steady at around 60 a year, including cremation ashes. And we're looking at the possibility of having a full-time gardener, maybe including the cemeteries, as opposed to the grounds team coming in and doing, which they do a great job with cutting the grass, etc. It needs somebody, in my eyes, that is actually located on site, like just taking a pride in the sort of the finer detail. So I do find with the competition, we do have families that say live halfway between, say, here and Test Valley Crematorium. They phone up and say, look, it's in White Parish, wish to come and have a look at your crematorium because we're not decided, because there's no historical cremations in the past. And then they go to Test Valley, and Test Valley, for example, has got, say, 3 full-time gardeners, and we haven't got a full-time gardener. When I started at Salisbury, there were 3 gardeners on site. So again, everybody does their best, but it's in every walk of life, there's all these, you've got lots of choices, as opposed to years ago when it was more the municipal side of cremation was just, given by local authorities to the private sector. But then you've got the private sector, that's all they deal in. And I know crematoria is a sort of, well, there's just over 300 in the country, so they are quite a unique thing, which is in our cities and in our environments, and does play an important role. So to summarise then, I would say the cremation numbers have decreased by 27% from 1995 to the last financial year. We are currently operating at 72.5% of our 1995 volume. So this supports my point, which is a 27 drop over 31 years, despite significant new competition of 6 crematoria. Is, in my eyes, sort of relatively modest, considering how other nearby crematoria have been seriously affected. So I think we're hopefully doing something right for our local community and surrounding districts.
Great, thank you. If I could start, then you touching there with the gardener, but to sort of put to one side maybe the financial side of things, as you say, when we raise fees, cost of fuel, all of that, there is a financial, and I understand we sort of gauge the competition and sort of position. But looking at the other side, then you mentioned, I guess, with gardeners making it more appealing. How do we sit with people when they come and view? Do we lose them always to others? Do some actively choose us? Because I guess that's the sort of softer way of making sure that, and again, not wanting to see this as sort of competition, but we're providing what people are looking for.
Yes.
So yes, other than a gardener, are there other things that the crematorium could be doing better to provide for the families that want to make use of it?
Yes, it's well, we're having some of the internal walls, just having some light decoration with pastel colours as opposed to just having stark white walls throughout the whole building. A lot of people prefer a traditional setting, as with the Westerly Group. The new private sector crematoria are mainly all the same footprint design, so the loos are outside. If we come into the chapel, some people might like that, the younger families may like that. So again, it's just doing what we do, but doing it to the best of our ability, and just having it sort of brought up to which is a very high standard in the grounds. But I think it's, people see what the grounds are like, and if that's reasonable, then they would say that what goes on behind the scenes there is reasonable, even though it's an open door policy. If somebody came in reception and said, "Oh, I'd like to just have a look round your crematorium," then by all means we invite them in there and then.
Yeah. No, that's helpful, because I think that would be useful, because today, we've got a really nice historic view of, as you say, actually relatively modest given the pressures in the last 30 years. But it'd be really interesting to get more of these ideas from your expertise of, like you say, you're looking into the gardener, but these are the things we need to be starting to consider to make sure that the crematorium remains sort of not just fit for purpose at a basic level, but is providing, because again, to then find the support, the resources, we need that time. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear more ideas you have going forward, as to, like you say, this is what people are looking for, and we could, but we aren't doing.
And like for the emergency plan, a lot of other crematoria have the gardeners, which also they can then operate the cremators. So in an emergency situation with illness, it's another bolster that then supports the fact that we can still operate.
Yeah.
So there's always another pair of hands.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Hocking.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Neil, you're right. Perception is reality. And you make a very good point when you say, if people come for a look around somewhere and what they see with their own eyes, they think, wow, this is good. The assumption will be that what goes on behind the scenes is also good. And if they look around and they go, they'll assume what goes on behind the scenes is also, So good point. And as the service that generates the biggest surplus by far for this council, if you want a gardener to make that service bigger, I'd be shouting for it as loud as you possibly can. So I'm with you with that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, Councillor Corbyn.
Just to thank Neil for everything he does, because every service that we've been to, we hear that the excellent work that you do. So just keep doing it.
Thank you, and I'll feed that back to the team. Thank you.
Perfect. So yes, well, no, thank you very much again. And I think to reiterate, please do come back. And if there are things the crematorium needs, tell us. Yes, you deserve it. And if you need it, we should be giving it. Thank you. So, yep, is that?
Yes, absolutely, Chair. We'll make a note of those points for budget setting for you all.
I was going to, well, that's fine, but you've got 6 months to start prep, or 5 months to start prepping your bids, and we like to warn you. Lovely. Great. Is that the end of the team update then? Well, thank you to say those that were here and are here. Quite the session. Yes,
Just a general comment, actually. When we now see these reports with the heads of service or whatever stepping up to deliver their bit, it's really, really refreshing to hear what they have all got to say. In the past, this would not have happened. And we certainly wouldn't have had Neil coming along saying, do you know what? I need a gardener because I need to do this. And you wouldn't have had Vicky standing up and saying, do you know what? I think we got a challenge and we should do something about it. That would never have happened in the past. So I think it's really good news that the officers have a chance to stand up and say, this is really good, but this is better. I want this to help me do my job more. It shows they're thinking about what they're doing and they're trying to improve what they do. And that is a sea change from where we were a couple of years ago under the previous leadership of the council. So from my behalf, some of them have gone, but those who haven't, just tell them I think they did an amazing job, done really well.
Yeah, no, as I say, I think, yeah, we'll pass that on. I was going to say, yeah, not having the historic context, but this is, yeah, I love this. This is what I want and expect. It's really good to hear from the people that do it. And yeah, if we can, I don't know, make sure they grab a biscuit or, you know, not too much. Have some rock. Come and have some rock. Yeah, we'll get the bar open. Anything to get them here, because yeah, if I could have a key.
Have Saturday and Sunday off as long as there's no services or any events going.
Lovely. Well, let's speedily then move on. Item 10. Oh, here we go. Budget outturn and monitoring report. Thank you.
There's a couple of variances to discuss. I think the best discourse for the overall outturn report is probably if you guys ask some questions and I see if they're within my wheelhouse to answer. Otherwise, we probably save the questions for Matt, as in reality of day-to-day life, only one of these budgets is actually mine. And so I don't probe into the others too much. I'll just fire through the variances quickly, if that's okay. The first one is mine, but it's more of a financial quirk. I wish to make a carryover request for some money. You can only make a carryover request from expenditure, not income. So I moved some of our overachieved income into an expenditure budget and requested, and it was denied. So it sat there almost looking like unspent budget, but it was actually income. You can be assured if I had 41k to spend on the Guildhall, I would have spent it. Next one is market salaries. That's an underspend, mainly because, as Dave has pointed out, we didn't have cash collectors for a lot of the year. And in fact, I think some of the financial year, Dave wasn't even the senior market officer. He was just a market assistant. We didn't actually have a functioning head of that department. It should be probably noted that some of the wages were still spent on other staff covering the position, would be seen in other budgets, but on that particular line, it's largely underspent. The final one is on something called Future Salisbury. There's two. There's an underspend, as barely any of the budget was touched, and then there's a lack of income on the line. This is more of a historic budget line. There used to be a 28k contribution from partnership organisations that no longer comes. So that will show that we didn't achieve the 28k there. And of the 44k, 44k remained. So we didn't spend the line, we didn't earn money on the line. It's a bit of a remnant of the past from past senior managers.
Perfect. No, thank you for running through those. I think when I was looking through this, almost it's worth looking at the appendices, so Appendix A particularly, because you start to see, I think, as we were mentioning at the beginning of the team update, some of those financial numbers more in context. So when you see the variances, for example, with markets and advertising, you know, £3,000 is significant, but then when it's within a budget of 160, you realise percentage-wise it's not necessarily as massive. So no, thank you for those variances. I think the only clarification I wanted to have, and Lol, as you're still here, St George's Day, this was last year's, so that would have been 2 St George's Days ago. Yeah. No, that's fine, because as I say, you shared in the update that we had a more positive sort of outcome of it, so just wanted to clarify that. Perfect. Otherwise, yeah, lots of red, which is nice, we're told. Good. Any questions from the councillors? No, lovely. In that case, then, is everyone happy to say that we've noted this? Noted. Perfect. Thank you very much. 9:30. Okay. Is our target then? Perfect. It's 3 hours. I've got you for 3 hours, Mac. Well, just under 3 hours for you. Item 11 then. So the stage trial report. Luke, if you want to just, give us through that. And I think, we've got a decision to make on this one. Oh. Lowell's coming as well. Perfect.
Good evening again, councillors. You'll have to excuse me because this is actually, in all the years that I've worked for the council, the very first time that I've brought a paper. So please bear that in mind when you ask me a question and I maybe and look at Asa or look for a bit of support. So I'm not even quite sure where you'd like me to begin. We've obviously did the trial stage as requested back in the 24-25 bids. We or budget setting, we were given 20 grand to trial a stage, which we did. It actually was over 7 weeks in the end, so we kept it up for St George's Day, which I mentioned earlier. Lots of good things in the report that you will have seen. So we did have, 50 applications from different bands, performers, groups. We were able to put something on every Saturday night that was paid for out of the 20,000 budget. We did go slightly over, but we did bring in an income of just short of £8,500, and only one of the planned nights were cancelled due to weather. So, yes, questions?
Yeah, as I say, questions, and I think we have a recommendation for this committee. I guess we come to a recommendation that we will then take to full council as a committee. I think very quickly on my side, and then I will look to the room. As you say, yes, there was a budget slightly over, but about £20,000. We raised some income through this. I think the key thing as well to remember with this was that doesn't include what is mentioned, or rather the numbers don't include what is mentioned in this report of all the extra time officers put into supporting this. So talking to people, seeking the sponsorship, getting people in there, which will of course add even more expenditure to the running of a stage. So I think that's worth considering. And a recommendation of a permanent stage or not doesn't necessarily preclude us from doing further temporary stages in the future either. So that's another thought to consider. Councillor Rimmer.
Thank you. It won't surprise any of you that I'm not a huge fan of the stage because I think, the only person who argued against it at budget setting. I might be wrong. I think I'm the only person who voted against it. And I think that the trial has proved my scepticism correct in that my real concern is that for businesses, particularly in the hospitality sector, I'm not sure there's ever been a more difficult time than we have right now. And the current government has piled more and more pressure onto them. Not much we can do about that sitting around this table. But I regret that we have put more pressure on them as well. The toilets that we've talked about endlessly, I'm not going to bring up again. Well, I am going to bring up again, but I'm not going to talk about too much. But that has put pressure on them. I've spoken to people at the Oxrow and at the Market Tavern, and they both say that it's caused them problems. They're having to bear the brunt of the fact that those toilets aren't available, as well as all the other factors that we all know about, which are causing big problems, the jobs tax, all of these things that are really causing them problems. And I think that this is just another one that can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, really, because it's meant that they haven't been able to, the pubs there haven't been able to put on events that they might have otherwise been able to put on. They haven't been able to have music events that they would have liked to have otherwise had. And I know that council officers, I believe, have spoken to them there to try to mitigate some of that, but it is still mitigating something that is what we're doing and we don't need to do. And another one of my concerns is the noise and the level of it. I don't know how, because this report has the numbers in it, but I imagine most people probably aren't enormously well acquainted with what those numbers and what those decibels really mean. As someone who works as a professional musician, I'm well aware of it. And, 85, I believe, is the level at which employers are legally required to protect people's staff's hearing. And 89 sounds like it's not much above 89, 85, but in terms of scales with decibels, it's, I believe, more than double the actual sound energy, 85 to 89. So, and of course, we don't know that that's actually the upper limit of what the sound was, because I imagine the recording, you didn't necessarily record the exact loudest sound that was done at any point in time, unless somebody tells me that that was what happened, but it seems unlikely. So it's reasonable to suppose that it probably was higher than that at points. And I know that businesses around here have had complaints about that, and people in offices and things have found it difficult when it's been during the day, and as I say, hospitality. So I think that we've done the trial. I enjoy being proved right sometimes, and I think that I have been on this occasion. And I think that we should cut our losses and not keep spending money on it. I'm aware that, as I say, I work as a professional musician. I work in the arts. I'm all for music, and I'm all for music being performed. But I don't think that this is the right way. And I think that it's beholden on us to do what we can to get out of the way of local businesses' ability to do things. They're the ones who, they take their own financial risks. And I feel very uncomfortable with anything that we do that makes that more and more difficult. So I think that the officer's recommendation of, is it number 3? Is it recommendation 3?
Yeah.
Is what I think we should do. So I'd like to propose that we take recommendation 3, if someone will second me.
Perfect. Before we move forward, just got 3 other people. So Councillor Brown, Corbyn, and then Hocking.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Lol, for this great report. My question is, your recommendation to, not do this permanently, is that largely based, I know what you've put here, but is that largely because of it costs more than, it makes a loss basically, or is there some other reason?
I think if I'm being honest, it's a mixture of absolutely everything. So your cost, your officer's time, please remember that your events team only actually consists of 2 members of staff. I do have a group of events assistants, but they're on 0 contract hours, and they're mainly for the 2 pop-ups. It's also the noise issue, that there are more residents that live around the square as well, so we have to be very mindful of them. So yeah, it really is, it's a mixture of everything.
Yeah, if I was to just add one point, because I just think there are other benefits to doing it other than just raising money, which is, because I used to until recently live right on the market square, is seeing people that wouldn't find, local folk who wouldn't find somewhere to perform, being able to get out in front of their peers. And that is something that's increasingly difficult in this country. So I think, that should be factored in whatever decision. And I agree, let's not waste money and do things, but don't just throw it out without considering broader social benefit.
No, and as I say, we'll go to Corbyn to respond to you, but then I think remembering as well, option 3, and I think it sort of says at the end of that, we could have another period each year we'll have a month to provide a temporary stage to allow local acts in there. So that's something the council in the future could consider. I think here the discussion is around, do we do this permanently or not? So Councillor Corbyn.
Right. The dB levels for a lively social gathering is 70 to 85 decibels. 90 to 100 decibels for an average festival or a large party. The length of time, it was restricted because they finished at about 8, didn't they? It didn't go on to 10 o'clock or beyond 10.
No, I'm sorry, councillor, they finished at 10.
They did finish at 10. Okay. But the pubs and the eateries along there will have no doubt benefited because people will have wanted to sit out. So I disagree with Councillor Rimmer entirely because there is a time and a place, but there's something called collaboration. And those venues could have had an offset or for the toilet mitigations or whatever. But I think Salisbury always was and always should be a vibrant environment, and it's not as it was. I don't necessarily believe that having a permanent stage is the correct way to go for the reasons that you've said, but actually maybe we need to look at collaborating with a music provider or somebody that can actually take on the running and the risk, if you like, to save officers time, because it's kind of a niche thing, actually having like the sound, the stage and everything. And officers aren't necessarily equipped to do that. So it's managing it differently. I'd like to see more music on the square because that square's huge and it's underused. I don't think necessarily that the offer was fulfilled enough because there were dead spots in the engagement in the music offer that was there, and some people were quite critical of that. So I don't think we got it quite right, but I still think there's scope to do a little bit more or think a bit differently.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I say almost that. I don't think I'm necessarily disagreeing. I think it's the maybe not the permanent. It would be nice, and again, we'll be told come to us in budget setting window. Why not a month of every year? People know that's when Salisbury does its music, and we put a temporary stage up. You know, in 5 years we have the Edinburgh Fringe. People know is August. Salisbury, you come for this month as a temporary stage and music, and then people can come in and the bars and we can collaborate. But I think there's a lot of planning for that to go forward in the future. Sorry, Councillor Hoggins waiting, and then.
Chair, thank you. One of the reasons the Market Square is like it is to have events on it. That was one of the major reasons it was turned into a car park, into the fantastic space it is at the moment. Just running through some of the comments, a temporary stage was installed on the 13th of March until the 27th of April. So that's the end of the winter. So it's wet, cold, rainy. And I know, Lars said we've only had one performance cancelled because of the weather, but we'd have an awful lot of performances not even come to the table because of the time of the year. So I'm not convinced that the timing was right. As it comes to funds, well, it generated a net cost, it led to a net cost of £11,000, but we gaily sat here and went, poultry cross, 400 grand, no problem at all. That's easy enough. 11 grand for a stage. Don't know if we can afford that. So this is a question of priorities. Residents living around the square, if you live in a city centre right next to a square where there are events on, get used to the fact there's going to be events on. If you don't like it, perhaps living in the city centre is not for you. We have had a noise complaint. We have had one only. And we're still yet to actually find out if that was purely a vexatious complaint as well. Because the details of that full complaint, I haven't seen to my knowledge. There is one, and Wiltshire Council in typical form threw the whole weight of the council at that one complaint. If only they'd done that when I had residents complaining about people having late night parties, all night smoking drugs and all sorts of stuff next door to them. I wish Wiltshire Council would do that instead of one complaint throwing the book at the council. So I know Matt is still dealing with that at the moment. When we have events on the square, it's packed. Market Square's packed, Ox Row's packed, Market Inn is packed. But the Ox Row is having a little bit of a problem at the moment because their manager and their staff is crap. Yeah? The manager has just lost his job, I understand. And I don't go in there as much as I used to because the staff, some of them are just surly. It's like they're entitled and they think, you're lucky I'm serving you. And I'm like, actually, do you know what? No, I'm not, because I don't have to come here. So if their sales are going down in the Ox Row, there are other reasons for that other than stuff going on in the market square. We had someone who was going to take the stage on, Councillor Jo King, and she had people lined up to actually pay for some of this stuff, and people were going to give us stuff for free. So it was never actually going to cost 20 grand in the first place. If we'd done it with Jo, it would have cost the council significantly less just to get it set up. And I look at the options considered and the further work and all the rest of it. And I know, Lol, you've got to cover it, but this is just like gold plating, bells, whistles, cover every possible thing you possibly can, which adds up to as much expense as we can put into it. So unfortunately, I don't support you. I think the trial was done at the wrong time. If we'd been doing it now, the month before the fair in the square opens, I think you'd have seen a radically different take up. And I think your income stream would have been in the red, not in the black. Or the black, not in the red.
Can I counter that, Sven? Because if we have a permanent stage, it will be permanently there during bad weather. Whereas
it depends what you're, if you're talking about a permanent stage with all the tech and all the kit and all the lights and all the rest of it, we need a performing area is what we are after. And if people want to rig it to put on a concert or a rave, fantastic. But if we've got the Military Wives Choir and kids coming along for an afternoon, we don't have to do anything at all. Yeah, they can do that all by themselves with a PA and a mic. So we've been confronted with the gold-plated option, and I don't think we need a gold-plated option. I get the bit about temporary, and we can rig it temporary with all the bells and whistles over the course of, a different time in the spring rather than at the end of the winter. So I get that, and that's fair enough. But I think I would be in favour of having the facility there that we can use. My opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rimmer, you.
Thank you. I've got a slight sense of deja vu because it feels a bit like budget setting when we were talking about this and other issues, and I was making these points alone and I wasn't getting support for it. So I guess that's probably what's going to happen again. But I find it interesting that I was saying that I've spoken to the representatives of those organisations and they've said that it's caused them problems. And the response to that from others seems to be to say, well, it shouldn't be, but it is. So, and they find it to be causing them problems. Maybe it should, one can say in theory, it could be a benefit to them because it brought people in. It wasn't. So that just saying it could be doesn't change that it wasn't, and doesn't change the fact that it's exactly what I warned about could happen, and it's exactly what has happened. And if we continue with this, then just be very clear that people here are willing to put ideas about what might happen ahead of what's actually happened, and are willing to risk businesses' livelihoods. And Sven, I take what your point is. I wasn't suggesting it was the only thing that I have no idea about their entire business structures either of these places, but they've both said that it has caused them problems, and we've already caused them other problems, and all levels of government have. So I would really like it if we could be a level of government that tries not to cause problems for them. So I'm going to propose again. I'm going to propose option 3, please.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan, sorry, I saw your finger there. Was it?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Sorry, point. If I've made a proposal, surely. I mean, I did it earlier as well. If someone's made a proposal, then that's on the table. Yeah.
At this stage, is anyone seconding it before I go to Councillor Bevan? Sorry, Councillor Bevan.
I was just going to say, I think it was Yox Row. I could be mistaken. They've had some open air events recently. Sound levels there must have been above what you've been describing. So where you're sort of saying that the council were doing this and the sound levels were above, that's what you said. The pubs have also done the same thing. So again, is what Sven also said. If you live in town, these sound levels are possibly what you're going to expect at certain points. They did stop around 10, so the levels, they stopped at the right time, but the sound levels were definitely extremely high for them at the same time.
Don't make it right.
Can I clarify, as I did earlier with the officers, because you know your business? If we go with option 3, do I have to build into that the request that we continue to look at other times of year, other potential options for future temporary, etc., or can we just do that independently with us as written?
Being a pain chair, I would suggest those are 2 different actions that you're asking of us. The view for officers set out in the report is that we trialled this, and for the reasons set out, we don't believe we should take this further. If the request is actually we should have a second trial and it should be at a different time of year, then that is markedly different. Well, yeah, as much as thank you for having that message clearly, Councillor. There is further work. So, for example, the sheer amount of time that the events team are putting into making this happen, I think would need to be considered, not just the conversations. There is further comeback, probably not for this meeting, in relation to previous offers of sponsorship, of free work, of things of that nature, which didn't actually materialise. However, if the view of the committee is that we should investigate a second trial, then that is a recommendation that this committee can make to full council.
Point of order, can I just check? If I've proposed option 3 and it's been effectively rejected because nobody seconded it, does that now mean that option is effectively off the table?
I think the words the chair used were "at this time." So I don't think it's off the table. I think it was merely that he wanted to bring other people in for a conversation before a formal vote, is how I read it, Chair.
Last one, Sven, Councillor Hocking.
I'm going to propose an option 4 then. If we don't want a permanent one and we don't want to move it somewhere else, which I don't think we do, and we don't like option 3, then we need an option 4. So I don't want to take the stage off the table forever, because if we lose it now, it'll be gone forever. So I'd like to propose that we run a second trial of a stage on the Market Square, and we run it the 6 weeks before the fair on the square in 2027. And we use those results from that trial to see if we can generate a business case, or sorry, if we can have the evidence for the business case to support or kill it off.
Councillor, I'd have to come back with a lot of costings around that. The officers will be focused purely on what's happening in terms of Salisbury 800 and the 2027 programme of events that we have in place. So I would have serious concerns at this stage of putting another trial of the magnitude that we had and the effort that was needed for our events teams. I'd have serious challenges with that. Not to say that that's beyond impossible, but it would have a different price tag because we're talking about getting more capacity into the team to deliver that.
Can I just jump in here? Based on Ace's point earlier, Sven, can we separate the 2? I would really like to go with a question around whether we're going for a permanent stage, and I think option 3 covers that to some extent of, at this point in time, it doesn't feel like there's a need for a permanent stage, and option 3 would cover that. If we then want a new motion and you want the officers to look into, I don't think we should commit any. It doesn't feel within the power of the committee right now to be able to say, let's do another trial. I think we could request officers look into the implications of running another trial, but that feels separate. Option 3 is the option to say, take no further action in regards to the trial that is just done, then we can come back with another trial. It hasn't yet been seconded, no. Councillor Corbyn.
Can I just seek some clarification? Right. The officers are recommending 2.1. It's recommended that the committee does not move toward the creation and introduction of a permanent stage upon the Market Square. So, but they haven't said that that wouldn't mean like a portable stage or pop-ups in the same way that we've always done. So can we not add to that, option 2.1, that we will look at a further trial for like the spring, summer? How can we word that to get that in?
So,
yeah, I know.
So I think that's where we're trying to separate. So option 2 or point 2.1 in this is referring to option 3, and I'm suggesting that we may want to support that, and then as a committee, we can then come with a second request, which is to look at a future. Yeah,
Chair, I don't want to say it, but I am going to say it. I think you're right in terms of these are two separate things. One, if we could have a vote on the permanent stage is point one. Point two is, I think a set of words that say, we will discuss this with the political groups as part of budget setting. It's not a cop-out. It's very clearly, this is an issue that is pertinent to red team, blue team, yellow team, Councillor Rimmer, and therefore we absolutely make a firm commitment that we will discuss further conversations, further ideas around stages going forward. So we'll find an appropriate set of words. That way we can have a conversation about a permanent stage, and then political groups can move forward if they want a political option considered within bids and savings.
in that sense, then I wish to second Councillor Rimmer's motion of going with option 3, as stated earlier this evening, and take forward, therefore, the recommendation that we do not proceed with a permanent stage at this point. So with that seconded, all those in favour of not proceeding at this point with a permanent stage and following the recommendations as set out in option 3, all those in favour? 4, let's see. Any abstains? And all those against? 2 against. So that was moved as a committee to take option 3 as our recommendation of not proceeding with a permanent stage on the Market Square. Can I then also add that as a committee we do agree to take back to our parties this discussion, because I feel there is a sense in this room that there is possibly better timing, better collaboration to look at using more stage activity on the square. So yes, we'll note and do that. As I say, I genuinely don't think it's in our power, and Sven, I know you're not happy, to vote for. Okay, okay. What are we motioning here? I propose that we all go back and ask our parties and teams and the rest of the council to look into. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a motion.
Don't need to motion.
Nodding and smiling.
Well, no, that's exactly my point. Yeah.
It's an ask from the chair.
It's an ask from me. Talk to your parties. Let's come back in the budget and let's try and find something that we can do another trial at a better time in a better way. Perfect. Thank you all very much. We'll leave that report and item there. And with 14 minutes before we have to pause, should we have a look at the dashboard, please? Thank you very much, Lol.
Can I take control of the TV? Okay, I'm sure you're all thrilled to see a massive spreadsheet at the end of this meeting. Don't worry, it's going to get better. What I'm showing you here, it's going to get much worse. No, what I'm showing you here is the engine room behind the Guildhall department, really. That's the reality of data held in everything we do here, every financial and many free transactions that we do here. Since I started, I've maintained some form of data, and I've maintained it because it seemed like the right thing to do, because we needed it for some processes, but ultimately I've kept it in my way. What I've recently learned is the term data cleaning, and which means making it so a computer or any kind of software can actually use it. And before I go any further, I have to thank Senior Corporate Officer Claire Dickinson for her absolute tireless work in creating this clean spreadsheet from my horrendous old data. As you can see, we've gone past 3,200 lines of data here. It's a astonishing undertaking that she's been able to give her time and focus to it. I would say this is essentially useless for decision making because it's so wordy, it's so deep. You need an executive overview, and that's what I've tried to create and demo today. So this is at a glance kind of a top level health check, and at the minute it's focused on revenue. All the figures are real, all the figures are current as of the last 2 financial years. I haven't bothered with the current financial year. I think this gives an instant accountable picture of where we are. This is where we were at the end of March in the year. And I think it gives you the kind of snapshot you need to make a investigation or an account into how we're doing. The beauty of having the data behind it and making it proper and read by software is that we can choose by year what we want to look at, and it will adapt and change the figures accordingly so we can see various performance. Any underlying spreadsheet or data connected to this is effectively live. So as you update the spreadsheet with your transactions or a financial piece of software does, you update the current performance dashboard at the same time. So at a glance, at a click, at any given moment, you could effectively see certainly the revenue position of any of the chosen departments on there. I've obviously just focused on the business team today. The small features like percentage of where we are on our target makes it immediate apparent what you're looking for. This is over the 2 years. And when I click one of these, this is the 1 year. Please, anyone just interrupt while I'm going at any point if anything doesn't make sense or questions. Otherwise, I will just continue to barrel through. Yeah. So that's both years together. Yeah, and this now includes the crematorium. Yeah, so it's both years added together. So when I click the year up here, it's the more familiar figure down here. It should be worth noting at this point, this is how we see the business team, right? And this is the people you've seen tonight. But as you've kind of been dipped into, I have the Market Square licenses outside. I have banners and signs. Lowell has land rental for like pigeon racing and the concessions in the park. The way we divvy it up is very much offices. Neil has cemeteries as well as crematoria. Probably the only truthful one is info and shop mob. I think it's another weakness, I suppose, of how we report currently, that we kind of bring that down. You're looking at a Guildhall budget and you're thinking the Southampton Road sign, not particularly close to the Guildhall. It's another advantage a dashboard would give you. I see this as the kind of front page, and you would want to click on these and look further. So that's what I've produced for the Guildhall. You go on the Guildhall and it will give you a more granular breakdown of what's going on here. I've chosen a few easy KPIs on the side, the sort of things you'd expect to see. How many bookings we're doing, how much they're worth, what we're making. Again, this is sliced by year, so we'll just look at the previous year for now. An occupancy heat map seems fairly relevant. It's a hard thing to gauge how many bookings we have, where they are. Unfortunately, even with the cleanest of data, you have the odd NA and other. Could be things like hiring the foyer, could be the home office booking, which was very complicated and hard to squeeze into our existing structure. Down here, a revenue breakdown chart. And again, all of this is interactable. So if you were like, I really want to know what that November did, it will tell you exactly what the November did. And down here, what portion of these things it affected. So you can see on this example that October, 18,000. November with more bookings, 15,000. So it was obviously a higher transaction fee for the October bookings. Nothing to be gained from this data right now. I'm not looking for an actual analysis of the Guildhall, but it's an example of the kind of way you could use this information. I've continued, obviously, just focusing on Guildhall stats because that's my kind of area. I've discovered something called a decomposition tree. That's what this graph's called. I can sense the excitement. If we stick with this year, by opening it up, it will tell us the kind of places we made this total revenue. We could go into corporate and we could see how are the packagings producing. And interestingly, currently we're still using the codes that we use for financing inside. But Del 2 is a half-day delegate, which is actually a lower rate. and it's outperforming Del One, a full day delegate. So there's obviously quite a market for people to hire the building for half a day. If I were so bold as to check how much committees room hire was costing us, particularly sundries, I don't know if anyone would be able to guess what TCB stands for. Tea, coffee and biscuits, yeah, very good. So that's the cost to us. It would be the cost in value, so not the cost to the council, that's the value that these items would generate if they were sold to a client, same as the cost of committee hires. On the right, paid bookings versus free bookings. Just demonstrates the reality of operating in this venue, that not everything is commercial, as you well know. We host many things here. We're the base of the council, but it doesn't mean that we aren't doing work just because we aren't making money. There's many free bookings. Huge things like mayor making come with their own cost, but this is a demonstration of how you could examine this, of course. Again, when you can search into these things, as I adapted the year or whatever, it will change the amount we've done. This isn't just committees, so you don't have to panic. It could be any internal or free bookings that we do at the top, any civic thing. I looked at, other features, other functions we could use for it. If we move here, these are some of the outside spaces. The bubble is relative to the amount of revenue they generated. So if we go down into here, we could see the Southampton Road sign. We hover over it, we can see the money it generated last year, the amount of bookings it had. Go over to the High Street, where you have to bear in mind there are 2 banner sites and it's considerably lower. That simple bit of definable data tells you that roadside signs, seemingly more popular than banners are, by quite a magnitude. You could then use this data alongside footfall. You could use a graph like this to show where we are doing grass cutting, a heat map of how much activity we have for communities across the city. All of these types of graph are easy to extrapolate to any parts of the business, not just commercial services. Finally, I tried to have a stab at what might be useful from other sort of sectors. So the top one is a demonstration of the takings of the charter market compared to the average rainfall, and perhaps a shift away when being accountable for numbers, that we don't rely so much on anecdotal evidence. We rely a bit more on a measurable kind of metric there. Lower down, I tried to, poor Charlotte isn't on this chart very much because she doesn't have income targets, but we found a way to get her in there. And this is a funnel chart showing us from the initial social media reach, what we got down to in attendance. So each stage goes down. So it shows you need about 32,000 in reach to get 150 people to come to the Guildhall. So about 0.5%. I haven't converted that to financial figures, but obviously you could. These aren't live graphs like my first few were, but in essence, once you've plugged the data in, you can really do anything. You click on most months, most things. This is probably the best one to look at how you want to do things, and it changes all the other stats and numbers. This is really a demo. I'm not soliciting questions about the data. I can't believe you did that much in October at this stage, especially this time. But I hope it gives you an overview of what we have. I think it's mad that councillors Rimmer and Hocking are asking for certain data. I think it's mad that I would have to use that gigantic spreadsheet to provide you with that data, taking a lot of time, taking a lot of energy. And I think something like this is a good examination into those finances that would allow officers to better recommend, councillors to better strategise, and overall us to project a more realistic financial picture. I haven't included expenditure on this. I think the outturn reports are heavily balanced against, or heavily leaning on to expenditure, less so onto income. For example, I have about 30 lines of expenditure on Guildhall, and then I have about 4 of income. So I've focused on revenue, but there wouldn't really be any issue in plugging in expenditure to this at the same time. I'm happy to take any comments or questions about it.
Perfect. I was about to cut in. Before we do, are we happy to carry on to finish with this now Q&A session? Everyone? Yep, as we are now hitting 9:30. Perfect. Great, we'll carry on then. So yes, any questions? Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Luke. That's really good. I would say, and following on what Councillor Hocking said earlier, I think for this to be, it's what's the use case for this? And really to be useful for how the council makes decisions, like we were just talking about with the last issue about the stage, is does it make us money or not? So the P&L element to a dashboard, as it would be, and we call ourselves, what do we call ourselves? Commercial Services Committee. We should be commercial about it. And the dashboard is useful because revenue income goes up and down based on the weather or whatever, but that's not really much interest. It's a little bit of interest. It's not useful for making decisions. What useful for making decisions is, are we doing the right things that cost us money rather than make us money? And then we should drop them. So I would say design the dashboard to include that P&L element.
I suppose my pushback to that would be, what do you want included? Do you want all of the Guildhall's bills, or do you want the bills that just pertain to the income I earn?
So just like in any business where you have multiple, like I've always been in consulting, so you have multiple clients, and part of the cost to project one with that one client, it's not the entire, you don't put all of the overheads of your business, you attribute a portion to it. So that's what I would say.
The variable costs of putting on an event versus the fixed cost of it being the Guildhall, because the Guildhall will have to be here to some extent. So that is a cost the council will bear. But if we put on a comedy night, what are the costs specifically? So to compare to having an empty room and putting on that event, plus the revenue tells us for that event, this is the Councillor Hocking.
No, I was just going to say that's exactly what I meant. There's some things that it's not like the Guildhall, things that we do that are not a business. Then of course we're not interested in that. Putting on mayor making is not meant to be a revenue generating activity. So most of the function of the Guildhall shouldn't be included but the bits that we use a bit of Guildhall to run a bar, and we'll attribute some expenditure to that.
Well, I think there would be some, say for example, an instruction was you should be doing more bookings, then it would become relevant how many free bookings we're doing, because you may wish to change how many free bookings we're doing, or whether to take a paid booking over the top of a committee meeting or not. So I take the point. I don't think financially, in terms of our software, we're set up for me to give you the true metrics of a cost of one evening. We will be, I understand, in the future with new financial software. I think at the minute I'd have to basically just use the expenditure outturn report, which could get us in the mud. Maybe I'm thinking more Guildhall, maybe the market or something would be clearer cut. I can just see me trying to present the whole gas bill to you.
Councillor Hocking.
Yeah, I remember seeing the spreadsheet for the first time a year ago, maybe. We saw it, I think.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate how much further forward we are because Luke had done what he's done than we would have been if he hasn't. Because at the moment, if he hadn't, we'd be year one looking at, where's our historical data? We haven't got any. Yeah, so don't underestimate how much further forward we are in the game than we would have been. So that's a big reflection on Luke for the work he's put into this. Yeah, Luke, you're right. We can't nail down every single thing. And we're not, and I know you've done it for the Guildhall, but this is something we can roll out across the other commercial services. Yeah, so I think great stuff, excellent start. Bit of refining in certain areas, which I'm sure you'll know there'll be some areas which you would want to do. But the bit about let's have a look at the markets when it's what happened when it rained. That sort of thing it's easy to enter, yeah, but it's useful information to have. Yeah, and then you can see the trend. Did we have a really wet summer? Yes, that's why the market takings are down. Rather than thinking, I wonder why the market takings were down. As I said to when we were talking about the info centre, what happened statistically in January, February 2025 that boosted the numbers that walked through the door so much? Yeah, if we had Luke's data for the info centre, we'd know that. Yeah, so I reckon this is a really good thing. And we should be using it to pin down, as Matt said, where's the money coming from? Where's the money going? Where's the bit in the middle? And if we do need to apportion or amortize costs across certain business sectors, then we need to do that. But this is great stuff. I think it's fantastic. Really good news.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
If I may, Chair, there's a couple of things that I'd love to just comment on from an officer point of view. I think for the next committee meeting, we will bring an explicit report which sets out income and expenditure for you. And Luke, those will be featuring graphs, which you know that I love.
Yeah.
We will be clear on cost, and that will be all costs. We cannot pick and choose what costs to include in this process. I would dearly love to be operating out of a modern office building. Instead, I have to bankroll a 235-year-old building, which is just not cost efficient. So I think we need to be really clear on those costs, providing you that information, because there are services that you will have seen tonight that we would shut tomorrow. They are not generating us profit. The question that I would put to administration and to other groups is this organisation going to be driven purely by profit? Because you will not get Shop Mobility turning a profit ever. It just won't happen. And therefore, is it the direction of this council that we should shut all services that don't make a profit? That will come out in the wash. The other thing that I just want to be clear on is the excellent work that the business team have done. So we have challenged heads of service to be providing more data. This is starting to become useful information, which is a very big difference. And as a former analyst, this is indeed a good step forward, but we have no capability in the organisation in terms of proper analysts. And we have limited software. The fact is we have a very capable young man there, but he's got a number of other functions and roles that he needs to be undertaking in order to keep the money coming in, albeit the money that he is bringing in comes nowhere near to the cost of running a 235-year-old building. So really happy to bring some clearer reports to you on income and expenditure for next committee meeting, if you were okay with that, Chair.
Just to come back on that, no one is saying that this should be a purely commercially driven organisation. That's not what was being suggested at all. What is being suggested is we should know for each business unit what it costs and what it generates. Yeah, Shop Mobility is a classic thing. No, it's never going to make any money. Are we likely to shut it down? No, because it doesn't make any money. No, we're not. But it would still be just useful to know what it generates and what it costs. And that's what we're asking for.
Noted, and I think that's a great idea. Look forward to it. I agree with Sven. I don't think that was the suggestion. I would say that it gives us the intelligence to make decisions, because to be honest, the night market sounds great, but that might be one that if we find it's bleeding us dry with cash, then the night markets may not, so there are some things I think where there is a commercial decision and other things where it's not, but it's the way of keeping on control of things. Just coming here. What a dashboard whiz you are. Lovely. Looking forward to seeing more pages. Love a good dashboard. Spend my life in data. I think, we've got the data you showed us last time. We've got some evidence, I would call this now. It's starting to build up. It's the insights that are good. And I think the last bit you showed, the blue bars for Charlotte, I think it would be really interesting to have the team members and the officers starting to look at these and build them in, because we mentioned the rainfall. My first thought with that social media stuff actually was it starts to tell you, well, where are we going to, where do we put the effort in? Do we really want to keep pushing social media reach? Because actually the drop off is huge there. Would actually be getting more views into the website be more effective? Why are people clicking but not buying? So you can start to really get the insights then of actually where do we put our time and effort, because we could double our social media reach but still lose 90% of them, and it was a waste of time.
Yep.
But if we are a bit stickier on the website, that might be better. Just as an example, I think it's those insights, and it'd be really good for the team members to start having this to help inform them too. Really impressive, as Sven was saying. It was great to see that you could be, for the fun of it, building a spreadsheet over the years.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, yeah.
And now it's paying off. As say data cleaning, free text, all of that sort of fun.
No fun.
Yeah, it's good fun. But any other questions on the dashboard at this stage? Otherwise, yeah, looking forward to seeing it continue to develop and come into business. Great, thank you very much for that. Anyone? I don't see any special circumstances, any other matters that need discussing at this stage. So unless anyone's about to shout at me, I will close the committee meeting there. Thank you all very much.